This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Most European fairy tales involve a deep and mystical forest of some sort. A hero must face the unknown by bravely marching in, overcoming obstacles, and return to society a stronger, wiser person. Spa is in a way the racer's version of those stories. Nestled in the hills of the Ardennes, prone to unexpected challenges, and requiring immense skill and bravery, this place is a test for all who approach. For our drivers today, it will be a test of endurance specifically, as we get ready to watch the Majors 2.4 hours of Spa. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Bill Soupzon. Next to him is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, the Majors brings in fans of all types of racing, and while Spa is infamous to the road racing side of things, there might be viewers today who haven't heard of this place.
If they haven't, they're in for a fantastic introduction from the Majors Series Americas region tonight. The current track layout at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps is 4.35 miles or 7 kilometers, consisting of 19 turns and a wild 335 feet or 102 meters of elevation change, which, for reference, is 6 meters higher than the top of Big Ben in London. This layout has been in use since 2007, but Spa has a storied history, with the first 24 hours of Spa taking place in 1924, when the circuit looked quite different than the winding hill climb we know today. While the drivers will only be tackling 2 hours and 24 minutes around this track, and will only be taking part in the GT3 class today, Spa will still prove to be quite a challenge. Getting the right line over Eau Rouge so you don't go off track in Radillon. Keep the understeer under control through Double Gauche and Campus, and not braking too late for the chicane that makes up turns 18 and 19 are just a few examples of how critically precise these drivers must be around here. And with the long Kemmel Straight and the hard braking points after Blanchimont and into La Source being the best places to pass on this long lap, these drivers will likely struggle more with the mental game of this course than the physical tonight. So let's get to it then, and take a lap around Spa in our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, Kevin Brown is behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Spa. The very first corner is the nefarious La Source hairpin. Turn 1 pileups are common here, so drivers will need their heads on a swivel. 3 and sometimes even 4 wide can happen as everyone jockeys for position. As you exit, getting the power down is going to be critical due to the combination of the downhill and the long acceleration zone. Heading by the old pits, you gotta hug that wall to the right and set up for Eau Rouge. Then hold your breath and keep your foot down as you try to straighten this baby out. Guys who push wide at Radillon are going to wind up with a slowdown penalty, and that is going to hurt as everyone blows by them along the Kemmel Straight. Now we switch to an uphill climb to the highest point on the circuit. The Lacombe chicane coming up will be one of your best passing opportunities, though it is possible to defend from the outside. You can expect guys to pass up an easy overtake into La Source and wait to get somebody here. As you switch back and forth, make sure you set up for Malmedy to keep anybody from getting a run on you toward Rivage. Now it's all downhill from here. Literally. We've got a steep plunge into the braking zone and all the way around this 180-degree corner. You're likely to experience understeer, but before you know it, it's time to get to the right and flick it through no-name corner. Now we set it up for Pouan. With the grip of these cars, there's just a little braking and then holding on as the car tries to slide wide into that paved runoff. As soon as you feel you've got the line, time to ease onto that right pedal and accelerate the rest of the way around this very fast corner. Careful how wide you drift on the exit though, with the slippery AstroTurf right beside the curb. Get back to the left, and now we've got Fagnes. Make sure and hug the inside on that right-hander to give yourself the best launch towards Stavolo. Once again, be wary of that AstroTurf. One more switchback, and it's a pretty straightforward 90-degree corner for this first part. But the real important thing is the next right-hander. We only have to lift a little, but wait too long, and you'll lose time hand over fist down the backstretch. You've got some mild little turns, but once again, there's no lifting all the way. Even as you come up to Blanchiment, the grip of this car lets you stay in it easily. Just carry as much of your momentum as you can, and then drift back to the left and spot your brake marker for the bus stop. This is probably your next best chance to get beside another car in the braking zone. I've seen passes made both inside and outside, so pick your poison and hold firm. There's even a possibility of pulling a switchback if you time it right. But as we pull back to the main straight, we've now finished a lap around Spa.
Salute to Kevin Brown and his beloved GSRC BMW, wherever Kevin may be. Hopefully he's watching this someday. But in the meantime, we've got a little bit of warm-up left here at the track, so that gives us some time to go over the points. Bill, what's the situation?
All right, let's go ahead and start by looking at the Pro Division here, the Drivers Championship. Now, you can see the numbers on the right. The numbers I really want you to look at are the drop races. You'll see that there's two on there. They have the oval drop and the road drop. Look what Blake Reynolds has. He has nothing when it comes to an oval. And here at Spa, he only has 188 points in his pocket, which would seem like a lot, right? But when you look at some of the other drivers who have dropped rounds down there, look at Travis Worling, almost twice as much. So basically, while Reynolds is out in front by 50 points and 83 points over Thunhorse, he's really got to be careful because he has a bad race. Eric Smith or Matthew Thunhorse are going to pass him up. Let's go ahead now and take a look down at the team standings. Everything is pretty much cemented in here. Alliance Racing is feeling real comfortable. And when you look at those names, Slavonic, Callisto, Bennett, Clement, and Thunhorst, you kind of realize why they're doing so well. Riding Shotgun Motorsports, the Outlaw guys, they had climbed up a little bit. They've fallen down to fourth. Guys, everyone seems to have locked into position. I'll be surprised if we see much change between now and the end of the season. Let's go down to the Sportsman class where things are always changing because these guys, we don't get to see them often as they race in the second split a lot of time. Rob Powers and Samuel Scott holding positions up in 1 and 2. Then you got 3 new guys jumping onto the overlay. Nice to keep an eye on them. Finally, let's go down and look at the Legends class. And this is what I like to call the We Were Alive When Men First Landed on the Moon division. These guys do not like change. Brian Bennett and Jimbo Pfeiffer remain in the same position. Wayne Hutchison and Bob Beltrami, they swap spots. And Clark Archer's been on the overlay before. He gets that spot back. So there's your top 5. Bennett really in control of that one, Joe.
I mean, I'll point out if anybody believes in reincarnation, we could have been alive.
All right.
So let's go to the race details, Adam, for today's race, because each time we change here in the majors. So our viewers might not know exactly how this will play out.
Yeah, this is a different round from pretty much every other round, and that's the way that they like it here at the majors. Round 9 of 14. This is a road course, so the road drop week points will be in play tonight. We've got the GT3 class cars, and many of them are popular, including the Mercedes, Audi, BMW, Ferrari. We've got a ton of cars out here tonight. It's open setups as usual with the major series, so everyone's got a chance to modify what they like. The race length is 2.4 hours or 144 minutes, so not super long, but that's going to mean we have an incident cap of 35 here in the race tonight, so that's going to be really important to take a look at. And then we also have 1 spare car, and I've been reminded that we need to bring out love for the Ford GT3 out here tonight as well in its final season in IMSA as well this year as well.
Yes, nobody seemed to have wanted to pick the Ford GT3 as it's been on iRacing for quite a while. Now, we, of course, want to remind everybody, if you enjoy the majors, that you can buy some of their swag. If you go to their store, it is at www.pacificmajors.com/store. And get yourself some gear if you want to help support this wonderful series. And as always, you can find this series on the iRacing Esports Network. If you just go to their YouTube page, all you got to do is click subscribe. It's a big red button if you haven't clicked it yet, so you can't miss it. And you'll get all of the major series in your YouTube feed. Now, This is an endurance race, as we mentioned, not as long as a 24-hour race, but pit strategy will come into play. And Christian, you were telling us a lot about this and how you observed things in the European split when you ran earlier. What are you mostly expecting out of these drivers?
Well, I expect that the most common strategy that we're going to see is everybody will run the first tank of fuel out and then take a set of tires. I don't really expect anybody not to take tires on the first stop at the very least. That's kind of where there might be a little bit of variation in, because you can either take a full tank of fuel at that point, or you could maybe try and get yourself a little bit of track position by maybe taking about 2/3 of a tank, and we should be able to see that quite clearly on the pit stop times. I believe it was around about 1 minute and 10 seconds stationary for the Mercedes for a full service. So you'll see if there's big gaps after the first cycle as to kind of where everybody's going on that. The second stop, I think for most doing the normal strategy, will just be about 1/3 of a tank at the end. For the guys who short fuel, they'll obviously have to do 2/3 of a tank, and we might see a bit of interaction there between those two strategies crossing over. I guess if you're really kind of out there in your own kind of race and you just want to be safe, because the tires are a little bit interesting for that last run for the flag, because the GT3s don't seem to really like doing any kind of double stinting on tires. So if you're really worried about that, you can maybe split the race up a bit more evenly into thirds and take tires on both your pit stops. But I firmly believe we'll see most people will take full service the first time and then just come in for a splash towards the end of the race.
For fans who are wondering about why tires are an issue, at least choosing whether to take them or not, they are not allowed to change tires and take fuel at the same time. The sim simply will not let you in these GT3 cars, so it'll take extra long if you take tires in a pit stop. So speaking of the pit stops, Bill, one thing that's always a talking point when we do this endurance layout is the length of the pit lane. So we keep saying, well, two stops. Anybody who tries anything sort of alternate with extra stops, they're going to pay for it.
Yeah, this is not a place where you want to try something fancy when it comes to making a 3-stop race or something, because you got to enter at the very beginning of pit lane. You got all the way around La Source and then before you exit. So it takes forever. Plus, it's really narrow there, and we've seen some weird things happen when drivers can spin and block the track there. So you want those pit stops to be out of the way and not have to worry about it. Nothing fancy going on here.
Certainly. So at least that part will be predictable. Everybody got to come in twice unless something goes horribly wrong in your race. And Adam, I feel like things can go horribly wrong here, because this is a modern Formula One track. They've got lots of the paved runoff to try and save you and keep you safe. But man, the speeds here, I can't tell you how many times in lots of different cars I've managed to find the wall anyways.
Yeah, definitely. There are quite a few places where the walls are extremely dangerous. Coming up through Radion, of course, if you get loose through Eau Rouge and over Radion, that's going to be a big place where you could definitely put it in the wall. Blanchimont is also extremely dangerous in these GT3 cars, and you just need to be super careful also about the push from the front end, especially if you're driving a Mercedes. There is quite a bit of push that goes on with these cars, especially when you go through some of the longer, wider corners. And so you have to be very careful, because while there is runoff, the runoff is extremely slick, so that can be really dangerous.
All right, Christian, the most hated part for pretty much all iRacers out there, they have an incident limit at this track. Did you find that you had to really pay attention to that as the race went on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everybody in iRacing who's ran at this track before knows that this is kind of an off-track paradise. You can pick them up everywhere, and pretty much everywhere you do pick them up gains you time. So they've got a 35 incident limit for tonight. That sounds a lot, but it's really not, and you'll get very close to that. I think you'll see a lot of people definitely above 25. I know myself, I was at 31 by the end of the European race. So yeah, the thing is, it's an advantage to do it. So you can kind of stack them up a little bit and make a play as to when you're going to use them, which sounds a bit weird because it's obviously kind of a penalty system, and it's not really there for that. But fundamentally, there is time to be gained by using them. So if you can kind of store some up towards the end of the race, and other people don't, you can maybe be a bit more aggressive in terms of your passing and set up better runs and so on. So it's definitely a factor, and it's definitely something we should keep an eye on. I don't believe anybody actually was disqualified from the European Pro Split earlier, but there was definitely a number of people, myself included, above the 30 mark. So it will be close.
A little known fact, and we'll have to share this one with Bill later because I know he's a music person, but that was the alternate title for Stevie Wonder's classic hit. But we'll get back to that in a little bit because we currently have a grid to go through with our pole sitter being Mark Torres. Eric Smith is going to be starting next to him. Trevor Clement will be P3 with Steve Driscoll starting 4th. Travis Warling in 5th position. Matthew Thunhorst in 6th. Then it's Ross Banfield starting P7. Brandon Cronin will be 8th. Miguel El Crudo with a great qualifying in 9th. And Dick Mueller starts in the top 10.
In 11th, it is Kevin Hill. He's going to be inside of Clark Archer, Austin Hervier, and Jeffrey Garzado make up the next row. Brian Bennett and Ian Renault go next. In 17th and 18th is Patrick Fleming and Lance Nassier. 19th and 20th, well, look at that. Blake Reynolds all the way down there. And Jimbo Pfeiffer. We'll talk a little bit why Blake is down there in a minute.
And we have Sam Adams in the 21st position, Andrew Oakey 22nd, row 12 is Ray Partridge, and then Alberto Garcia Blasco in 24th position. Richie Hearn lining up next to him. Alongside him is Leif Peterson. Lionel Callisto down there in 27th position alongside Daniel Manzano, and then Scott Corbin and Jeff Schmeier round out your top 30.
Wade Hayes will be German Afandador will be 31st. Wade Hayes is next to him on the outside in 32nd. Brian McGreevy starts 33rd with Lowski Diolo in 34th. Liam Quinn starts P35. Wayne Hutchison in 36th. Kevin Oval 37th. Mirko Frontini in 38th. And Nick Kuhn 39th. Vincent Leherbier Bill will start in 40th.
Then you got David Glenn and Rutgers Kevin O'Keefe down there in 42nd. Rob Gall and Marcus Trey go 43rd and 44th. Daniel Knight, Brian Barnes, Peter Hedbron, Steve Sostad way down in the bottom part of the grid. 49th is Bob the Salami Beltrami, Adam Halleck in 50th, and then finally Ariz Zuckerman down in 51st. Not sure if he's racing with us, didn't put in a practice time.
And just real quick before we get to green, Reynolds is down because he had a 10-place grid penalty. We'll explain why in a little bit. Vincent Leherbier as well, slotted down 10 positions for the start of this race. Not the end of the world, as passing can get done. Look at just how many cars are going to be taking part in this thing. It's a long track, but lap traffic will still be a serious issue. And as soon as they come out of La Source, Mark Torres does not wait. He is off like a shot as the green flag waves here for the 2.4 hours of Spa. They come up to Eau Rouge for the very first time. Most of the cars starting to get single file. Nobody looking to do anything crazy, at least at the front of the field, through this very scary corner.
The entire field negotiates Eau Rouge okay, at least so far. I think they all got through.
A bit of a battle for second. You can see it on screen to the outside. That's Trevor Clement. That's Eric Smith to the inside. Almost gets into Trevor as they finally get single file coming through Lacombe. Behind them still too wide between Matthew Thunhorst and Brandon Cronin, but Cronin comes out on top. He gets P5 out of that deal.
And Brian Bennett was extremely slow on the run up to La Source up there, so he's going to be way down back in the 23rd position. He started quite a bit farther up the field, but he's losing positions now that he's back in the pack.
Speaking of losing touch, Mark Torres already pulling out nearly a second ahead of Clement. Look at the gap up at the very front of the field. And they're going to have to settle down a little bit considering they've had a lot of battling in the first half of the first lap. Already they seem like they've learned that lesson. Nobody really making any attacks, trying to see if they could recatch the 05.
I spent a lot of time multitasking during the pre-race show. Did we mention time of day?
We did not, actually. That's a good point. Yes, as our viewers might have noticed, we are going to see a sunset as on board Cronin. He's got another run and possibly another position. That's Driscoll in the blue car that he's getting ready to overtake.
Those two going side by side. They're really strong through here. This is a very high-speed portion of the track. It's really easy to go wide, so that's a good place to pick up incident points if you're not careful.
Cronin nearly lost the car coming through Blanchimont. That gives Thunhorse the opportunity to try around the outside of the first apex, inside of the second apex. Doesn't quite work out through the bus stop. So Thunhorse backs off, but now he's under attack from Worling behind. That's the blue machine, the number 90, that's going on the attack into the La Source hairpin. Another battle up in front of them that you can see between Driscoll and Smith. Between those two, it is Driscoll who comes out ahead, and it is Worling who comes out ahead of Thunhorst.
Worling doing really well in the points, looking to score some more here today.
Oh, we have a car off in the background. Mirko Frontini has decided to tow. I guess he's got some front end damage, and he is out of the server as well. So he has completed his race. He's no longer going to continue racing with us.
Well, that is a shame because he had a spare car that he could rely on if he needed. Obviously, it's too early for a scheduled stop. We continue to follow this battle between Smith and now Cronin, who gets very close to the back of him. He takes a peek to the inside down into Ravage, and he's got the car down to the apex. He's got to complete the job, though. It's going to switch back into No Name, and he finally has it, so move Cronin up to P4.
Follow up on Frontini. He got into the back of David Glenn, where else at the bus stop lap 1, so that's probably why his day is done. Glenn's okay.
We want to keep tabs on Blake Reynolds as well, our current championship leader. He is down in the 17th position after starting with his grid penalties. He's up 2 positions from the beginning of this race, but he has a long way to go in order to make up positions up there and keep Eric Smith from gaining a lot of points on him by the end of the day.
And that penalty came from Detroit. He had contact causing a loss of control, according to the stewards, so that's why that happened. Le Herbier, unfortunately, an incident in practice that has also put him on a 3-race probation, as well as his grid penalty that he had today. So he's a little bit on thin ice.
Hey, let's give those race stewards credit to being blind to reputation. They spanked a penalty on Blake Reynolds. That, good for them. Sorry, Blake, but good for them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how important you are in the championship. A little bit of car contact between Dick Mueller and Ross Banfield. This is back in 8th and 9th, and I think we had a car off behind them as well.
Yes, there was Lance Nazier. He's gone off in the P25 now. He's going to get passed by Lee Peterson, I believe. But yeah, he outbraked himself down the field, so he's got a long way to go to catch back up to Lionel Calisto ahead of him.
And no Hamilton-esque penalties from the stewards in this case for Nasir. The sim will automatically give you a time penalty. Oh, go ahead.
Kevin O'Valley has gone around. He's around right there at La Source.
Wade Hayes got into him. 2 cars in 1 spot.
Ferrari turned around the wrong way in a very blind corner. We're going to take a look at how this replay unfolded. Tell you what, Kevin O'Keefe did a really good job avoiding. He's the one you see, the only car going to the inside, managing to find his way over to the right.
Kevin had some damage before that incident as well, as we see his hood's knocked up going into that corner, so he's already not had great luck, and then comes around the corner to that. Wow, amazing dodge from him.
Yeah, Rutgers Kev's got a long day ahead of him, it looks like. I'm curious to see if he'll take the spare car once he's done. Meanwhile, I believe this is our leader we're looking at, Mark Torres. Now, one thing I noticed is he's racing in an Audi, and Christian, if we could bring you up from the pits here, you were telling us about the Audis being pretty quick early in the stint. Do you think Mark's going to be caught here pretty soon?
It's entirely possible. If Trevor can stay within kind of draft range of him, he might be able to pull up to him. I did find that the Audis are extremely fast on a hot lap pace, so maybe the first kind of 3 to 5 laps of a race run, but then the Mercedes is very, very strong over a full run, so it wouldn't surprise me at all to see if Trevor can stay kind of within that draft range of him, to see him actually pull up the mark before the end of this run and maybe challenge him for the lead.
Keep an eye on that, see if that gap closes. Meanwhile, we're watching a little bit of a battle down into the bus stop once again. I believe that is that Worling and Smith once again? Oh, no, this is Cronin we're watching. Cronin and Smith trying to duke it out for 4th place. Cronin's been in a lot of action, and we're barely 5 or 6 minutes into this race.
Well, he gridded in 8th. He's already up into 4th, so he's been working.
Yeah, Cronin's been battling very hard ever since the drop of the green flag. He really seems to have an understanding of this GT3 car and its capabilities. A lot of these drivers race the GT3s on a regular basis, whereas some of them are more of the oval crowd, so they have a harder time adapting to this. But this just shows that, being the best in the majors has to do with being good at every discipline, and it's awesome to see the fast guys up at the front consistently.
You talked about the fast guys being up at the front. Let's talk about Blake Reynolds. He's now up. In fact, he makes a pass. Oh, my goodness. He's in a side-by-side battle right now in 15th position. He gets that pass made on Garzado. Boy, it's really heating up back there. He's got to do the work, and I talked about those drop races. He has no cushion back there. In fact, the incident with Nazir, where Nazir went off, happened right in front of Reynolds. Reynolds now up to 15th, so he's making his way through, but it's dangerous.
Blake, our current reigning champion, that battle that we saw behind that we're watching settled out. Sam Adams in the Mercedes that came out ahead of Garzotto behind him. That was for 16th position. Sort of kicked off by the pass by Reynolds, but finished once they had come out of Malmedy.
You talked about alternate strategy. If anybody might want to think about maybe getting out of the mix of everything, Blake Reynolds might be a guy who might want to consider coming in early and pitting just to get out of, I don't know. It's probably easier to get around the back markers than it is to get around these guys. I don't know.
Yeah, but as Christian was talking about, it's really a dangerous move to make because the pitting for tires takes an extra 30 seconds, so that's really dangerous as well.
Cronin and Driscoll, a little bit of a battle for 3rd position, but Driscoll backs out of it. Cronin going to take that one away. One more position up for the number 48 machine. And as we were chatting behind the scene, just going over all that's been happening, Adam, Le Herbier, you noticed he didn't grid, but I'm looking in our information, and it says he disconnected at one point. I wonder if he was having some issues with his internet.
Yeah, that was before the race started, so he disconnected before the grid and then came back and was unable to grid with the rest of the group and then joined the race later. So he's quite a ways off the lead. He's just going to be hanging on, trying to get as many points as he can. This is a salvage race at this point for him.
He was on probation. Maybe it was making a political statement.
I'm not sure about that. Kinetic Racing driver, teammate of our pit reporter, Christian. Actually, Kinetic, one of the ones who've come in and made a splash in this series. Torres is still your leader, and it's still at about 1.7 seconds. Behind him, it is a very close fight for second. Trevor Clement is trying to hold off the charging Brendan Cronin. That Ferrari is just on rails today and has been chopping through car after car.
It looks to me like Clement is just holding up Cronin and Driscoll a little bit, and Eric Smith is about to catch up to these guys as well. So, yeah, it looks like Cronin really on a charge here at the beginning of this race.
We watch from onboard Trevor, the Alliance driver, appropriately, essentially one of the big rivals of Kinetic currently. Cronin, actually, who's Cronin racing with? Trying to check my notes here. He doesn't have a team, so one of the few brave souls trying to go it alone.
I just want to be honest here. I've been looking down the field and seeing who's got pace and who doesn't at the early part of this run, and the Alliance cars are having a little bit of trouble on pace early in this run. Now, they might come into their own later in the run. They might be better long-run cars, but these Alliance cars are having a little bit of trouble with maintaining their speed through the corners right now. It looks like they're struggling with handling.
That red and black Ferrari of Cronin stays glued right to the back of Clement. Go ahead.
And Dick Mueller was off going through Blanchimont a little bit there, just about half a lap, just a couple of seconds ago, actually, in P11 there.
Mueller started this race in 10th, so he is down one position from the start. It's a long race. They haven't even gotten close to being able to take one stop if they did an early run, if anybody tries that alternate strategy. Ride on board, looking up ahead of him. That is Austin Hervé, who is chasing. I know it says Gagnon Renault, but he's running behind him.
And it looks like Blake Reynolds just made another pass up into P14 now, and man, there's a big battle going on behind him.
Ooh, yeah, I'd say so. Look at all these cars stacked up. Kevin Hill involved in that. Garzotto, side-by-side action still between Brian Bennett, and he makes contact with Sam Adams, wheel to wheel, coming through Lacombe. That causes Bennett to have to back out of it. Garzotto suddenly finds himself with an opportunity, but can't take advantage of it. And look at how many cars are in a train. This has really bunched them up now.
That has been the attitude of these guys since the racing began. It has been tight, and Reynolds was behind all these guys at one time, so he's happy to be through them.
As that was happening, we missed the pass for second. It was also into Lacombe. Cronin got the run on Clement. We've got the replay and just made it look textbook. If we want to stay on this replay afterwards, we had a problem with Ian Gagnon-Renault, who I incorrectly identified. He was the one we were on board.
Yeah, just
There's
a classic pass there. Yeah, just a classic pass there up the Kemmel Straight. Just getting a good draft up there, and yeah, it doesn't look like Clement was able to come back at him. So Cronin, a good pass there.
And here we're watching Gagnon-Renault and what exactly happened with him. I believe it was coming into Pouhon. Right now they're entering Rivage on the replay. See, he was still trying to chase down Mueller ahead of him. Right on board with the Mercedes, considered one of the more stable cars. Actually, I think I may have been one turn early. Yeah, it looks like up here into Fanyes. Oh, there it goes. Thankfully, nobody got into him. And he didn't hit the wall. At least if he did, it was very, very soft. Gets it going once again in 22nd. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, and as we've been watching this, it looks like Brendan Cronin's really putting in fast lap times. Our pit reporter, Christian, has reported in that Cronin just ran a 15.4 last lap versus Mark's 16.2. So that is quite an impressive time. As we take a look at the lap comparison, look at that gain that he made just in the last lap, 0.8 seconds. Unbelievable.
And now that he's got clear air, he is set off on a mission. And number 48 could be the one to watch. We also were informed that he races for Geodesic. Now, I don't believe they have an official team, but whew, that's some hefty weight behind you if you're racing for Geodesic. They hire some real ringers.
How about we talk manufacturers real quick? How about 3 different manufacturers all in podium positions right now? Audi, Ferrari, and Mercedes. I like that.
Yeah, nice good mix up at the top. And in fact, the Audis are showing fairly well in the top in general. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 within the top 10. That's almost half as on screen. Steve Driscoll in a fight with Eric Smith, but Smith has to back out in the wake through Blanchimont.
Believe it or not, looking at lap times, it looks like there are only a couple of Mercedes that are able to crack the 15-second mark, whereas we have quite a few Ferraris and a couple of Audis in the 15 seconds themselves. So 2-minute 15s is kind of the goal right now. It looks like the Mercedes are struggling on pace a little bit.
I wonder if that's going to change when the sun goes down. We are currently just about getting to 9 p.m. virtual standard time here in Belgium. I know Christian talked about noticing some difference in his race as the conditions changed. What's your prediction?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised actually that the Mercedes aren't really showing as strongly right now, because at this kind of point of our run, we were kind of starting to come back a little bit to the Audis and Ferraris. I'm not surprised at all, really, that the top 10 is mostly stacked with Audis right now, just because it was the clear qualifying car, and I feel like it's natural if people continued the use of that car through to the race setup and so on. So I I predict that'll change a little bit. The real dark horse for me this entire weekend really has been the Ferraris. I did not expect them to be strong, so that's really surprised me that they've been running at the front in pretty much every race.
And here's the car you've been watching, Christian. Blake Reynolds has made his way to 13th, and he's found his next victim, Clark Archer, his teammate, ahead of him.
Yeah, Blake's been in kind of a nice spot for the last 5 or so laps. He kind of cleared the people he started around, and he's just been moving up slowly. He's actually been running pretty competitive lap times. He ran a 15.9 last time by, so I feel like he'll get comfortably into the top 10. It just depends on if he'll be able to maybe crack the top 5. I think we'll know more clearly after the first pit stop.
Be a damage limitation day, but let's go to Adam because you're watching the mid-pack, and looks like you found a nice little tussle.
Yeah, Jimbo Pfeiffer is trying to hold off Lionel Callisto for P19 as we're watching on board. Almost past there. Looks like Blake Reynolds is trying to make a move there. Ooh, whoa, that was very close, and the car goes off.
Big moment, and we're gonna watch the replay of Clark Archer. Did he actually hit the wall? I think he did.
Those are two teammates as well, so you don't want contact between them. I don't believe there was contact. I think he just got loose.
Oof. And one of the fastest corners on the track. I said that paved runoff won't necessarily save you, and he does have his spare car. I believe Archer going to be heading in down towards Christian now, but is this within the window? Can he make it to the end with a 2-stop here, or is he unfortunately forced into a 3-stopper?
I think he's just about okay, actually, because it's 21 minutes into the race, so he should be able to come in, get his fast repair, do a full service, and then I think he's really penned into kind of a damage limitation, because obviously that's really not ideal, and he'll lose a lot of time from that. It's going to be interesting to see whether he takes a second set of tires, though, now with him having to stop pretty much on the hour marks.
Ooh, this on-screen battle is the one that I mentioned just before we saw that incident with Archer, Adam, and this is getting a little feisty.
Yeah, these guys are really struggling right now.
Oh, sorry. We have to step away yet again because Mark Torres had an accident in Pujon.
Oh, what a great job of incident abrasion from Cronin.
Yeah, he managed to stay away from him, use that runoff to great effect. Torres did not hit anything, but he fell way down and is still falling, actually. He's down in 17th.
This would not have been my line. This is good.
Oh my gosh, Cronin, look at that move that he made to avoid. He had to go way off into the runoff. That's going to be one of his X's for sure, but he was able to save it and able to stay in the lead as well.
Christian, you seem to kind of pick this one out even before this race started, talking about how the Audis could be a little diabolical in places.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole reason I didn't pick that car, to be honest. The whole week I've had everybody telling me, no, the Audi's really fast, it's super good for qualifying and everything. And fundamentally, I agree with them, but it just, when I was testing it, it felt like it wasn't a matter of if it was going to kill you, it was just a matter of when it was going to happen. And I really feel for Mark with that, because he was doing a great job right there, and I don't think he necessarily had the pace to hold off Cronin. We seem to have an incident in turn 1.
Yes, we do, indeed. That is Callisto, actually. Little Train, former champion in the series, losing a lot of positions in a similar situation to what we saw earlier in the race, stuck at this blind corner.
Jimbo Pfeiffer looked like was really late on the brakes. Is that what got him around?
It's possible. Lionel Callisto was in that battle with Jimbo Pfeiffer that we were trying to cut to, and we had 2 incidents happen before. So we're going to take a look and see what happened here into turn 1.
Yeah, I went and looked back myself, and I think he got tipped around. It was the lightest of touches.
He just about got him woed up. Then we ride on board with Callisto as he gets tipped.
Yeah, we're going to watch it from off the car now because it was difficult to tell from the onboard. Could have looked like a simple spin, but I think you'll see here netcode, maybe.
Maybe.
The Alliance driver gets it going, but he's down in 41st now, so that was costly.
Headlights starting to make a big effect now as we start to drive along. We got headlight wash from the cars now on the pavement, so that's going to start affecting how the drivers drive, and the flashing of lights behind you going into corners might be something that distracts you going forward. Oh, we have a car off. Looks like
Kevin
that was
Hill.
Kevin Hill.
Ooh, and the tire marks tell me he found the barrier. Although this is a weird incident, this must maybe hardware failure. You're going to see him just straight line it.
Oof, that's a big hit. Hopefully, it looks like hardware failure because he hasn't been able to reset yet. So that implies to me that it's possible that his wheel might have come disconnected. And he resets now, so he's in the pits. But man, that was a weird accident.
It looked like he was turning the wheel a little bit during or after the incident. So our director suggests maybe he's on a VR headset and lost picture and just let it go so that he could spear off the track and not be a danger. Meanwhile, this is our leader now, Brennan Cronin. And his Ferrari started this race in P8. Part of this open setup deal is that you can change it between qualifying and the race, and I think he has found a beautiful race setup for that car based on how he's running. A little bit farther down, Matthew Thunhorst has got a great battle going on with Banfield.
Yeah, these two guys, they were 3 wide with Miguel Alcrudo in front of him, and these guys are still 2 wide now. Oh my goodness, contact as it sends Ross Banfield off the track. Austin Hervais goes by.
That moves him up into 8th position. Banfield demoted now to 9th. Austin, another climber. He started 13th, getting up to 8th with that move. And he's got
And we have
one more
Liam
potentially.
Quinn off the track now, down in P28.
Looks like he's still running. Must have been a very short off. Yeah, so we don't need to go see it. He just spun to the inside of Rivage, tipped the wall, kept going.
Pass
Lost
for third,
just
I
a
think.
couple positions.
Here comes the pass. Eric Smith has been working on the back of Steve Driscoll for the last 2 laps. Finally got him! Loses it right in front of Driscoll.
Justin
And
goes
both-
around as well.
Both cars managed not to hit anything, and both Alcrudo and Warling with a monumentous bit of avoidance driving.
There's the Audi biting again.
My goodness.
Wow.
And let's get an onboard with Alcrudo because he came around the corner not exactly knowing what's going on. Thankfully, this wasn't at night because I think we would have had 2 more wrecked cars.
He was second to the seat, and he had only one line straight, right there and then right there. Wow.
You see, he had to change direction at the last moment, too.
And that is about as close as you can get there, folks.
God, he got around the first car, and that put him directly in path with him. The next one, he had to bring it back. Well done.
Man, Austin Hervais has just got more spots, both from that incident and now from passing Matthew Thunhorst. That moves him up to P5 in 1 lap.
We're taking a look at Eric Smith, who makes it by Blake Reynolds there up through the Kemmel Straight. And man, it looks like those rear tires are really causing Eric Smith some trouble, though, off the corners.
Eric Smith, another one of those Audi drivers, though, as he goes way wide. And behind him, Reynolds' Mercedes starting to hound him. Going to go to the inside, down into Puhan. Very difficult to go too wide into this corner. Reynolds is trying to make hay before the sun stops shining. Oh, and off he goes. Eric Smith with a big save off into the paved runoff of the modern Spa circuit. Brings it back to the racing line, but not without losing the position.
He clobbered that curve for sure. That was a really heavy hit to the front right suspension.
I'd like to just forget this last 4 minutes of racing. It's been a rough time for him.
Christian's been watching Reynolds' pace as well. You've got a good eye on the timing screens and what exactly is going under the covers here.
Well, I was skeptical that he was going to get back to the top 5, but given how everybody in the top 5 seems to be having problems, I'm now actually kind of confident he's probably going to have a shot all the way up to second, actually. He's consistently been the second fastest car out here for the past couple of laps now. Only Cronin's faster than him, so he's currently, I believe, about 10 to 11 seconds off the lead. Or 12 as it updates across the line. He's really within a shout of second place, I think, so it'll be interesting to watch him.
Yeah, that is mighty impressive considering he's had to pass a lot of cars and he's only lost that little bit of time since the start. I can report, I think we got a scheduled stop. Peter Hebron is coming in. Actually, maybe he has some damage on it. I'm trying to see because he was well down. He's a lap down already.
Hebron, one of the sportsman drivers who got into the top 5. Director, can we quickly go to 32nd position? I've been watching this guy. He's in a BMW. Adam Halleck, he is our hard charger so far. Having a great run. Started in 50th, racing now in 32nd. Staying out of trouble. He's got some cars ahead of him, and he's in a BMW. Just got to give him the love.
He's given a bit of chase to Nick Kuhn.
Yeah, he's got some.
And Wayne Hutchison in front of him.
And Halleck, another one of the sportsman drivers that just cracked into the top 5. I caught his name down there, so good to see him racing up here in the top split.
On board with the BMW of Halleck as he closes in on Nick Kuhn, gets within a car length, doesn't get the best of runs out of Malmedy, so he's not going to poke his nose in through Rivage. In fact, he takes a very wide line on the entry, manages to cut back, but it doesn't give him the launch that he may have been hoping for there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're going to see an aggressive move from him. I've been watching to keep an eye on him. He's very patient, very calculating. When the opportunity's there, he takes it. Otherwise, he waits.
Don't want to leave this, but for fans of the BMW, the highest of this little trio, I think a quartet of cars out there, is Brian Bennett in 11th in his Z4.
I think we got a quintet.
Oh, we
Corbin,
have 5.
LaHerbier, Quinn, yeah. Liam Quinn's in one. Brian Bennett, and then Halleck. Not a single Ford.
Well, and no McLaren either.
And McLaren. That's
Meanwhile,
McLaren's creeped me up.
Meanwhile, down in 17th, Lance Nasir, who again is trying to make his way back forward, is looking to make it 16th because that's Patrick Fleming, but he's got a bunch of cars behind him. So if they start battling, that could make things a little complicated.
Yeah, this train has been forming for a while behind Patrick Fleming and Lance, trying to pick up his spots that he lost there. Steve Driscoll in that battle, as well as Jimbo Pfeiffer, who also went off. So this is a big group of people who are trying to make up positions from earlier mistakes that were made, and so he's trying to claw his way forward now. So this big, huge battle that's brewing behind him, we're going to see quite a few people trying to make some moves here on the Kimmel Straight, I think.
Don't need to go there, but Banfield just picked up a spot moving into the 6th round, Matthew Thunhorst.
As we work our way up that Kimmel Straight towards Lacombe. And Patrick Fleming being chased by Lance Nasir. Look at how close behind them as we switch over to Oki and Blasco, though. That battle could have erupted any moment with how tight he is under braking on the Audi. Sun continues to set here in Belgium, which means the temperatures continue to go down. It is 70 degrees on the track surface. That's only 2 degrees higher than the air temperature. So eventually it'll probably hit the point where it can't get any cooler.
But it's not raining, even though it is 98% humidity. That's close as you can get, I guess.
Yeah, gonna be a chilly night, I guess. That moisture in the air. Meanwhile, this is the battle for second place. I've been keeping half an eye on this one. They go through Blanchemont. That's Clement, you see, in the Alliance machine. Warling behind him, both driving in Mercedes. And Warling not interested in passing quite yet. He got a great run coming up to Lacombe, up the Kimmel Straight last time by, but he elected not to force the issue. He's a little closer this time, so I wonder if he might try something when we hit the chicane at the top of the hill.
You got Cronin in a Ferrari, Alcrudo and Hervius in the Ferraris behind him in 4th and 5th, and then these two Mercedes in 2nd and 3rd.
And we have another accident, Jeff Schmeier in 29th, who just went around there. He had a similar incident through Blanchimont there that we've seen before, just getting loose, I believe.
This one in a Merc. Ooh, but that was a pretty hard hit. I wonder, is it, because I know from my experience, it in the GT3 cars from years ago, riding over that curb in the middle kind of upset the car. You kind of wanted to pick one side or the other. And I wonder if that's what we're seeing with a lot of these cars.
Yeah, in my experience with it, you either want to cut it as close as you can, or if you are gonna hit the curb, you might as well just take it wide, because losing 1x is a lot better than having to come to the pits for front end repair or being out of a race.
Ooh, Garzotto down in 14th in a nice side-by-side battle right now. And that is with Mark Torres, who's climbing his way through the field after losing the lead. He manages to get 13th with Torres' pace at the start. You kind of have to think that was a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, clawing his way back after that incident. He's, trying to get his way back. These Audis look really, really antsy, though, but they should start to improve as the night goes on and the grip gets a little bit better. We'll start to see less wheel spin from the rears, I believe.
On board with Garzotto, with the Audi of Torres now starting to become smaller in the windshield with his extra pace. And it looks relatively bright, on your screens for the surrounding sunsetting Belgian countryside, but I can tell you that is our cameras trying to brighten things up a little bit. It's getting pretty dark at this point.
That's the magic that our director can do, so you can get a better picture.
This is the battle for 16th, currently on screen, being led by Fleming, chased by Nasir, Blasco, Oki, Peterson, and Driscoll, all the way down to 21st.
Yeah, these guys still duking it out. Yeah, Nazir hasn't had any luck getting by Fleming, but this is the closest he's been heading up to Eau Rouge and Radion, so we'll see whether he has anything for him on the Kemmel Straight.
Right. It is a Mercedes versus a Mercedes, followed by an Audi. They're all awful close. The Audi gets the best run of the three. The Canadian Lance finds himself under threat a little bit as Alberto pokes his nose to the inside, but he decides he is not nearly close enough to actually make this one stick, so he comes back in line, stays P18.
Looks like Fleming might have a little bit less downforce, a little bit less wing in the car than Nazir. Nazir really doesn't pull on him on those straights, which is interesting, but he gains a ton in the corners. That's where you'll see Nazir really start to poke his nose in on Fleming as we get further into these laps. He's been trying to get by for about 4 or 5 laps now, so he's getting impatient.
Riding on board with Blasco, looking ahead. Oh, but behind him, Andrew Oki starts to spin and is narrowly missed by Steve Driscoll.
Oh. That one at Driscoll, amazing.
That was an amazing dodge by Driscoll for sure.
Very similar to what we saw with Torres spinning in front of Cronin. Ferrari unfortunately facing the wrong way on the downhill double apexer.
Eric Smith with a big incident.
Yeah, just take a look at Driscoll getting by there. What an amazing move by him, and able to hold on to it as well.
And you said Eric Smith had a big problem?
Oh yeah, this is ugly. Car got loose. He noses it in the wall. He is back out there racing, but there it is.
Another one, Blanchimont, except this time, first time we've seen a car hit the inside wall where they don't have any tire barriers. So it was just straight to concrete.
Interesting, he does not pit.
From on board, the other interesting thing is I noticed he knew very early in that turn. He was starting to counter steer almost as soon as that car started into the corner.
Oh, and they are woed up behind him. It's 4 wide on the couple straight.
Oh,
There's a
there it
big
is.
accident.
Let's get a replay of this one with Smith. He was off pace and it caused a traffic jam.
Scott Corbin involved in that, and one of the cars I think disappeared.
That was Lance Nazier.
Did he already hit his incident limit?
I don't believe so. I think that iRacing registered him as off track.
We're going to watch it from above. Lance
some
did
strange-
very quickly take a tow.
They were 4 wide here for a minute.
There was some strange contact in turn 1 between Nazier and Fleming, and then this accident happened. They tried to go 4 wide there, and it just did not work out.
I do not know why Smith decided to continue. He must have thought the car felt okay, just not aware that he lacked a hood on the car. Fans of the number 48, Brendan Cronin, he is still leading, and he's pulled away significantly from Trevor Clement, who is now our second place driver. 7.5 seconds between the two.
Scott Corbin also involved in that accident. He's trying to claw his way back to the pit lane as we take a look at the battle for, I believe that's second place. Yes.
And that camera shot that we saw gave us a really good idea of just how far back this battle is from the top driver. But it is not over until you get a singing overweight woman. And right now, Brendan Cronin has a pretty safe lead. But strategy, keeping it safe, and lap traffic are all factors that could yet change the scope of this race.
She's gravity enhanced, Joe.
Gravity enhanced, I like that.
You look at that tower over there to your left. Look at the driver at 8th. 14 seconds off the lead. Blake Reynolds.
Interesting that he lost 2 seconds on Cronin, though. Smith did decide to come in this time. So as we watch them trundle down, this is not scheduled, as you can tell by the noses of these cars. Adam?
And as they come into the pits, Christian, I was wondering whether I could ask you, so if Travis is behind Trevor Clement here, is he able to save fuel behind the Merc ahead of him, or is that not really something that he wants to do? Does he want to get by as soon as possible?
That's really kind of for him to decide, to be honest. I mean, in the EU race earlier, I found that I was pretty close to being able to do an extra lap on fuel, so maybe if he's making the decision to save, he can do that. We really won't know until we get to the stops themselves, because I had a scenario earlier where I thought the car ahead of me was saving, and it turns out it wasn't. So it seems fairly difficult to save fuel with these cars, because if you drop out of the draft, you kind of lose all of that pull, and really if you're behind someone who's maybe a little bit faster than you, just sitting with them can really pull you along quite nicely at this track. So you kind of have to be conscious of that, but it's possible. We just won't know until about lap 27, 28.
Currently we're riding lap 19, so we're getting closer to that end of the fuel tank for these cars. You can see an hour and 43 is left on the clock in your upper left-hand quarter. That is the time ticking down to 0. When it reaches 0, then whoever gets to the checkered flag first wins this one.
Hey, Director, how about 27th position real quick? It's Wayne Hutchison, but that's not why we're there. We want to talk about the guy right behind him. Bob Beltrami, another hard charger. He's kind of in it right now. He's got Brian Barnes. We're talking with Hutchison, Beltrami, and Barnes. These are some pack major veterans, if I go that far back. Northwest majors. But want to talk about Beltrami, up 20 spots.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned in a while how much this series has expanded. It used to be a single club. Right now, Beltrami looking to expand his number of cars past this race to Wayne Hutchison. Oof, he took a lot of curb coming over Radillion, so that hurt his exit off the corner. He's still going to get the slipstream, but so is Brian Barnes behind him. We could see 3 wide, depending on what Barnes wants to do with this. No, he's just going to ride it through, and both of them overtake Hutchison in the process.
That was fun.
Gotta love good fast passes on the Kemmel Straight. These guys really going at it still. I love this format. It's just so great to see these drivers be so aggressive here.
Staying with it, though, this group of 4 certainly not spread apart after that pass. They're joined by Lionel Callisto, who we know should potentially be a little bit faster than these 3.
And Adam, I'll tell you too, I love multi-class racing, but it's nice. It's a nice change of pace to have a big field, one class, every pass matters. It's nice.
It's also nice because now we do have a big field, but we do have multiple manufacturers as well. So you do get that variation, while at the same time they're all balanced to perform about the same as each other.
Third place is getting hot once again. Travis Warling and Miguel Alcrudo. Warling was looking at Clement for a lot of laps, but now he's got to look in the mirror.
I don't know, he might have used up his stuff getting to the end of the stint. He was really working hard on the back of Clement, trying to get the pass done. Alcrudo's ran him down.
Alcrudo's got some massive speed there on the straights, but he does poke out a little bit. I think he's trying to distract Warling maybe into making a mistake on the braking.
I was going to say, he didn't look so hot coming out of the Eau Rouge-Radillion combination, because he was well far back once they hit the top of the hill, and that denied him the chance into Lacombe. Trevor Clement would certainly like these 2 to start battling.
And we have a crazy battle there going on in P11.
Oh, and that is Mark Torres again in the thick of it, trying to make up for his earlier mistakes. Sam Adams is side by side there. You see in the red machine to his right. Plunging down through Rivage. He'll have the advantage this time, but not through this corner. It's going to go back to Torres on the inside unless he gets pinched just a little bit. Oh no, a little bit of a slide. Contact between the 2. Both Adams and Torres managed to get away with it, but just barely.
That is about as close as you can get there, but Mark Torres is not done. He's going to try to go up the inside now. Here we go.
He's got the run out of Pouhon as they come to Fanyes. He's deep on it, but he's way too deep. He's off into the runoff, and that hands the position away. Maybe even one more. Garzotto thinks he can get his nose in there, but unfortunately the door closes. Whew, this has gotten fierce back here, and this is all for 12th position between these 3 cars.
These guys have been duking it out. This is crazy stuff. And Mark Torres really has some amazing straight line speed. Look at him gain here as they go through. Oh my goodness, Sam Adams clobbering the inside curve, manages to hold on to it. But Mark Torres, seeing that his target is vulnerable, is going to want to go for it. And Jeffrey Garzotto behind him is just waiting for a chance.
I'm starting to feel like these drivers are flirting with disaster, but maybe it'll be over soon because Torres has got a great run coming down the front stretch. We watch from the back of Adams. Late move to the inside, outbreaks him down into the hairpin. Can Torres gun it off the corner, though? That's the question. Sam Adams carries slightly better momentum at first, but then it starts to go back in favor of Torres, and finally, he is into P12.
Discretion is the better part of valor. You do not want to go through Eau Rouge and Radillon side by side. These 2 drivers being smart about it, Sam Adams backing off there.
He's going to have the slipstream down the Kemmel Straight. Really up the Kemmel Straight, I should say. And it's not going to be enough of a slipstream, so Torres retains that position. Let's jump back up to the battle for second. We were watching Clement earlier as Warling got some company. Now I think I've got even more company.
Yeah,
Look at this.
I thought Clement was going to drive away with it, and now Warling has ran him back down, but Crudo's hanging with him as well. And Banfield not that far back.
Yeah, now a part of it. And don't forget Hervés. and 6th. The driver coming from 13th on the grid.
And while we're mentioning Hervéus, we might as well mention Thunhorst, who's just a little bit behind them. If this pack closes up a little bit even more, Thunhorst will be on him as well.
Oh, I'll go one more. Let's go back to Blake Reynolds. He's not that far back either. They're all coming.
Anybody else, since we're being inclusive?
No, I'm stopping it at Blake.
Okay.
It's a long gap then back to Bennett.
Yeah, I will give you that they are within about a second and a half each, so this could yet still become a much larger train. And all for second place, battle for best of the rest. 11 seconds, really, behind Brennan Cronin, who, to me, is by far the most impressive driver so far this round.
It is interesting to note, though, their order right now. With pit stops coming up, it'll be interesting to see how they sort out after that. You might want to think about maybe if I'm one of those guys who's having trouble getting around, maybe a touch short fill, maybe just a little bit, maybe around him in the pit lane.
Oh, I think Garzotto is listening, because Garzotto just came in. So the 379 going for a little bit earlier stop than those around him. This one, I feel pretty certain, Christian, is a scheduled stop because that car looks pretty spick and span.
Yeah, I didn't see anything wrong with him coming in and just checking the car over. It looks pretty clean. I will go back and check though, just to make sure. But I believe this is scheduled. A bit of an interesting idea to come in probably around about 5 to 6 laps earlier than he absolutely had to. But like you were saying, it's a good move for track position because if he comes out in clean air and he can just run his own pace, then it's definitely going to pay off if he was trapped. Because as we've seen, it's really not that easy to pass.
Well,
so
he was
just getting clear.
He was that driver in the popcorn position behind Torres and Adams that I couldn't get around. So I think he might have said, "All right, try it this way."
Speaking of popcorn positions, sorry, on screen, Al Crudo being hassled by Banfield as Miguel watches the cars ahead. Multiple popcorn positions down here, continuing this battle that we were talking about just a bit ago. This is all for second place effectively, even though there's battles within this train. Banfield's trying to take P4 away from the 777 of Al Crudo.
Oh, Worling trying to the inside. Oh, he thinks about it, but decides not to do it. Clips those two curbs there. Man, they're way off track. He's going to try and go the outside way around the hairpin now.
And I think he's going to do it if he can just make the apex. Worling does on the first one, parks it on the second one. Fantastic move from the number 90. That was some clever driving from Travis Worling. Oh, no!
He did it! Al Crudo did it!
How did he manage to keep from hitting anybody and take the position? He is now ahead of Clement, who's trying to find his way back. There's barely room between the two cars. He has to get out of it. They come through Eau Rouge, and unfortunately the wake from the car ahead prevents him from getting a good run, which means now Ross Banfield is going to be able to carry his speed up the Kemmel Straight, but he's going to have to look the long way around. Same thing with Al Crudo on Travis Worling. Two pairs of battles into Lacombe. Worling comes out ahead, and Banfield just about gets it done, and he's got it.
What a battle. What an amazing move. These drivers showing why they're up here in the pro split. These guys putting on a show for us tonight. Oh my goodness, Banfield getting extremely loose there as they go around the corner.
And all this fighting has allowed Hervéus, Thunhorst, Reynolds to close in on them now.
Yeah, we were talking about Reynolds earlier on in the race when he was back down in P18. He's up to P8 now on the back of this train. And with Eric Smith's troubles in the Audi, he's back down to P43. So this is a great chance for Blake Reynolds to make up some points on Eric Smith.
Say that when the cat's away, the mice come out to play. But unfortunately, the cats heard everybody squabbling. And now that Reynolds is the back of this train, I suspect we're going to see a few drivers gobbled up in the next few laps.
That move from Crudo to La Source, I thought for sure that he was going to punt somebody. I don't know how he got it wound up.
I thought the same.
Yeah.
Hour and a half left now on our clock. Watching.
Oh, little
was
mistake
that-
from Thunhorst.
Man, he has been just falling backwards.
He's making a run on Herbius, and he in the bus stop didn't get it done. Now Reynolds is right on him.
Reynolds is looking to the inside slightly, but decides better of it. Thinks maybe I can get a much easier pass along the Kimmel Straight. We ride on board with Blake, current champion of the series in the number 1 car. See if he can do a little bit better job than what we saw with other drivers before coming up and over the hill.
He's been patient up to this point, so no need to go flying by Matthew Thunhorst right now. But the battle is really for second still.
And Christian Challenger could probably relate to this. You know, inside the helmet of Thunhorst and Reynolds, they're in their own little battle in the points, especially with Smith's having trouble. Christian, they're really aware of who they're battling right now.
Oh yeah, of course, and to be honest, it's really surprised me actually that that Eric had the problems he did, and this kind of was the thing that happened to me last year when I was racing against Blake. Even if you're having a good day, somehow Blake always manages to get high enough in points to pretty much negate it. So, and he's doing the same thing again right here.
Even when he would have a bad day, he would have a good enough day that it would minimize what you were doing. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. I would pick up a win or a top 3 or something. He'd be there in the top 5 still, so he'd gain barely any points.
Meanwhile, we're continuing to watch the Alliance driver Matthew Thunhorst being chased by Reynolds. As was mentioned earlier, playing a very patient game with everybody in front of him. Knows he's got the pace, knows that he's got potential positions in front. I almost wonder too, Adam, if Blake is just thinking, these guys are fighting really hard. I'll just kind of chill back here, wait for one of them to take themselves out like many have done before.
Yeah, and if he's saving a little bit of fuel and saving a little bit of tires, he might be able to go a lap longer and not lose time. The one thing you worry about here is the undercut with the tire change, so it'll be very interesting to see whether or not Blake
Reynolds just
can make
made contact
something
with Thunhorst. Thunhorst gets turned at the bus stop and is essentially almost forced to come into the pits now with the trajectory that he was on.
Time for you to pit.
Dick Mueller comes in as well.
I thought this was going to be actually a really smart move from Reynolds because he looked for the over-under. Oh, you know what? I think he was trying to pit anyways. It looked like the 98 was looking towards there. Maybe that's why he picked the right side.
I think that's exactly what was going on. I think Thunhorst was trying to pit and Reynolds was trying to get the over-under on him, and so that's what happened, and that's the contact. So we know Reynolds will probably take his new car once he comes around the next time.
Dick Mueller also comes in pits just ahead of Thunhorst.
I don't mean to overemphasize the drop rate situation, but if those two guys, Thunhorst and Reynolds, were to blow each other up, it would work to Thunhorst's advantage as he has more pocket points.
Can we go to 11th with Sam Adams because he's gonna... Oh, and he just got turned. Alberto Blasco, unfortunately, trying to take the inside line at the same time that Adams was. And to be fair, I felt like Blasco had a nose in there.
Yep. He was,
Yeah,
if you, especially if you back it up to he was much farther alongside.
Yeah, he definitely established his position when Adams turned in, so that's an unfortunate situation for both of them, but it turned out worse for Adam, unfortunately.
Well, the ride-in shotgun car must have had a passenger blocking his passenger side mirror at the time, because he certainly didn't seem like he saw him turned in, and that unfortunately spun him around. Meanwhile, our leader Brendan Cronin is not going to elect to pit this lap. A lot of other drivers are pitting, though. Christian, who have you noticed that has come in and out, and has there been any major changes in that?
Well, I've seen that Steve Driscoll's come in, and he looks like he's taking a full service, and Thunhorst is actually just going back out. He's definitely taking a full service along with Dick Mueller. The interesting pit stop for me was the very first one that we saw, which was Garzotto. It looked like he actually was doing a splash and dash. He definitely wasn't in the pits long enough to take full service, so it'll be interesting to see where he filters out after the second stop, where he will presumably come in and take a set of tires.
I love it. I love it.
Bill loves an underdog. Jeff, probably, I'm guessing he'll take tires on the second one, try and make himself very fast for the latter portion of the race and scalp some positions.
Thunhorse pit stop, 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Now, that seems worse than it is. I mean, they're all pretty brutal, but that's a long time. Yeah, that's I'm sorry, Koniko.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I mean,
got a little bit of a battle down in 19th. This is between Liam Quinn and Ray Partridge.
Yeah, Ray's been catching up with Liam over the past couple of laps. He's got a little bit more stability on his car right now. Both have not pit yet, and Liam Quinn is struggling with grip. He's being a little bit tight through the corners, and that definitely made him suffer through Eau Rouge and Rowdy on that time. Ray Partridge going inside. I'm pretty sure Liam will let this go, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he breaks awful late, like he still wants to try and stay in it, but Partridge has got it done by the time they come off the second half of the corner. So move Partridge now up to 19th. Quinn still running within the top 20, considering he started 35th. This is looking like a pretty good day for the IndyCar master.
he's not a fan of fenders, is he?
It's just a very deep talent pool.
Yeah, it is.
Let's head back to second place once more, because Travis Warling cannot seem to shake anybody, as he's still got Ross Banfield on him.
I'm curious about his pace. It's possible that Travis took I mean, like I said before, that he looked good on the straights, but with everyone gaining on him in the corners, it's possible that he took a little bit too much wing out of it and that he's lost too much speed through the corners, and now he's burnt up his rear tires. So, but we have some pit stops going on. Is that right, Christian?
Yeah, I've just seen both Reynolds and Bennett just come in, and I believe Mark Torres has come in as well. They've not got round to their boxes yet, so we'll have to see whether they take full service or not. I'm pretty much of the opinion that they have to at this point.
Yeah, and Christian, how hard is that turn in the pits? That turn around La Source, is that something where you can pick up damage by accident, or is it pretty easy to make?
Yes, absolutely. That turn is deadly if you get it wrong. I normally put a small lift in just to make sure that I'm not gonna actually get into the inside wall. Is the strange thing, but we've had some quite amusing moments where cars have made contact with either the inside or the outside wall there, and then blocked the pit lane entirely. So it's definitely dangerous, even though it's very slow speed.
Bill, have you shared your nickname for that corner with Christian before?
It is the fast food order clown. Yeah, you get it turned around and you order the Jack in the Box. 2 tacos and gasoline, please. Hey, Thunhorse is working his way through 14 and 15. The only reason I mentioned that, remember, he was in that battle with Reynolds. Can't imagine that Reynolds is not going to beat him out.
You wouldn't think, but we've seen stranger things. Hour and 20 minutes left to go. We're getting close to that 1 hour mark. Our leader currently on lap 27 and about to start lap 28. And he is going to go for this lap 28. We see Blake Reynolds getting his tires.
And Joe, I can't help but look at the fact that Jeffrey Garzotto went by Blake Reynolds about
That's right, baby.
25 seconds ago now.
That's right.
Wow. Yeah, he's already on his way towards Rivage while Reynolds is just coming out of the pit exit.
Of course,
He
didn't take tires, so that's going to slow him down a bit on the track. But nevertheless, here they come.
Yeah, a bunch of cars now coming down pit lane. That's Warling, Banfield, Clement, Alcrudo. These were our top drivers, all in the battle for second place, coming around that fast food ordering corner. Oof, you can see how close Alcrudo has to get on the right side.
Plus, the drivers are always fiddling with their settings. You know, they want to make sure they have their tires right there. That you got to concentrate when you're doing that.
Texting their brother to see what do you want from. Do you want a taco? Do you want a burrito? Meanwhile, as they all now look for their stalls, Hervé stayed out from that group, and also well behind them, Leif Peterson has elected to continue on.
Andrew Oakey's going to join him, and I also want to mention that Brendan Cronin, in the lead of this race, is just about a second and a half behind Blake Reynolds, who just pit. So while this is all going to filter out in the end, it's really interesting to see just how much pace, how much time you lose in the pits. If you make a mistake in the pit stop, you could go a lap down. Blake Reynolds going extremely wide there, trying to make his way past Kevin O'Keefe, who's directly ahead of him.
Yeah, and that is for position, even though they are not on the same strategy right now, but not everybody is aware of that situation. He is going to manage to get by him pretty easily as he has a bit of a moment over the curbs out of Blanchimont.
Whenever you're battling Blake Reynolds and he's in your rear view mirror, you got to figure something's going on.
And
Cronin in the pits.
Yeah.
Now, he wasn't anywhere close to our other drivers. However, actually, is Garzotto going to come out ahead potentially here? I think he will. I think Jeffrey Garzotto... Oh, wait, no, excuse me. I was looking at the wrong part of the track. He just went through Malmedy. I thought he was coming out of Blanchimont. Wade Hayes, we're hearing, also is elected for a short first stop.
We're trying to figure out why. He made an early stop, so he might have to make another 2 more after this one.
Yeah, he went in there 21 laps ago, so I think Wade Hayes is... something weird happened along the way.
You know, Joe, you might not be that far off, though. Garzotto he's got a long way to go, but these pit stop times are generally somewhere around 2 minutes. So with him going up, on the Kemmel Straight when they entered the pits, it's going to be close to see whether or not Cronin comes out ahead.
The last of our field coming into the pits. We'll give you an update once they come out on how it all shaked out, just so everybody is up to speed. Garzotto is just coming out of Blanchimont now. Cronin is in his stall and has been there for about 30 seconds. They tend to stay stationary for a little over a minute for most of these cars.
And that will be everyone having pit at this point. Everyone having pit. Yes, everyone's in the pit. So Garzotto is the first driver on a pit stop strategy. So we'll see whether or not he can make it past Cronin. Cronin's going to be coming out of his box very shortly.
He should be, but Garzotto is now coming by, and he's got a head of steam. So he is indeed going to take the lead. Jeffrey Garzotto getting himself a little bit of screen time in that 379 Audi to take the lead of the race.
If Martians attack now and this race is called, it's going to work out great for Jeffrey.
They actually do have a process for a red flag, if you will, if something happens to the iRacing servers. So it is possible that Jeff could win if it's quote-unquote rained out.
And Christian, you caught an interesting difference between Brendan Cronin and our two front runners' pit stops. Is that right?
Yeah, I noticed that both Bennett and Reynolds, specifically Bennett actually, looked like he had a slightly shorter stop because he's come out well ahead of that group that was all fighting for second. And Reynolds, interestingly, has jumped completely ahead of that group of second. He's now ahead of Banfield. There's actually some contact at the top of the hill there for what is apparently 16th place, but it's more like about 5th.
Had a little bit of a battle down in 9th position. Crudo came out on top of Banfield and Hervé. They get that settled out real quick. Let's update you on how the pit stop shook out. Now, pay attention because this might get a little complicated. Garzotto, he is our leader after the first stops. However, he had a very, very short stop. We expect him to take his long one and pay for it later. Same Sort of the same with Wade Hayes. However, he stopped much longer ago, and we expect that he actually might take 3 stops to make this race. Brennan Cronin should still effectively be your leader when things shake out by our estimations. He has his long stop done. He comes out in P3 when all is said and done. Trevor Clement is behind him in 4th. And Trevor took a slightly shorter stop than Cronin, so might be on a little bit of a different strategy. Same thing with Brian Bennett. Similar time to Clement, just slightly longer. And that puts Brian in P5. Bill, what's the next 5 look like?
I'm sorry, I was enjoying what you were saying. Keep going, Joe.
Okay. Daniel Manzano. Actually, you know what? We didn't pit. Well, no, Daniel Manzano's actually pitting right now, so he's not going to be in 6th position. That'll be Travis Warling, who will inherit that spot. So Manzano apparently did take a stop a long time ago. Now he needs his real first scheduled stop. So Travis now finds himself in P6 after starting in 5th. He is 1 position down. Blake Reynolds, with his 10-race grid penalty, starting him in 19th on the grid, has slowly chipped away, and mostly through speed. This is not through a short pit stop, is now up to 7th place. Miguel Alcrudo is exactly where he started this race, in 9th position, but has been in contention with that big group that was fighting for 2nd. Same with Ross Banfield, but they've dropped off after these pit stops with that group. And then rounding out the top 10 is Austin Hervés.
Now, I will go one more from you from there. Let's talk about Matthew Thunhorse. Remember, he was that battle with Reynolds. They got together right at pit entrance. So Thunhorse is now back in 11th. You see him on the tower there, well down the list, but he was fast.
We got a battle going on for P13 right now. Dick Mueller's being really pressured hard by Ian Gagnon Renault, and Steve Driscoll is also trying to make his way by. He's going to go around the outside there. Dick Mueller spun on the last lap, and so these two are really trying to get their way by while Mueller has his rear tires hot, and that's going to pick up Mark Torres from behind him as well.
There's the pole sitter.
Torres, remember, trying to regain ground. Ooh, a look to the inside from Gagnon Renault. Thinks better of it here through Wuhan. Unfortunately, that puts him a little bit under pressure from Steve Driscoll, who also decides not to go on the attack, even though he pulled out from the racing line. Look at this group of 4. You could throw a blanket over them. Meanwhile, while 2nd place doesn't have as big of a group as it had before, it's still a pass for 2nd place potentially, because Cronin has caught Wade Hayes. Wade Hayes is not going to fight it. He sees the writing on the wall and move the 48 car into P2. That's going to give us a time to catch our breath. The first pit stops are done. We are actually just about halfway through this race, so we'll come back in a little bit, bring you the second half of the 2.4 hours of Spa, the latest round in the majors. Don't go away. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps, now deep into the night as the clock continues to tick in this 2.4-hour race. This is your leader, the number 379 of Jeffrey Garzotto, but he should have to come in for another stop very soon, considering he took an incredibly short one. We have a replay of an incident you saw a little bit on screen during the break. This is Dick Mueller with some net code with Ian Gagnon Renault. But it's not just Renault that had contact. Dick Mueller, or excuse me, Steve Driscoll also caught him. You'll see as we watch from above. And Mark Torres, former leader, found himself, unfortunately, just clipping him. There you see at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, this looked like just classic two-wide battling there as they go through the corner. Just did not understand where each other were, and yeah, netcode and then Torres just getting some front end damage on that. Unfortunate.
He did. From this angle, can't see anything bent up, so it must have been very small. A little bit farther down in the field, we got a train of cars that were much closer just a few seconds ago, but still could accordion back together. They're being led by 17th, the number 311, Patrick Fleming. Jimbo Pfeiffer follows him. Eric Smith is in there. Andrew Oakey. And here's a driver usually we mention a lot more of. Richie Hearn is in this fight.
Yeah, Richard Hearn quite a ways back there in the fight, but he is making his way forward. Looks like he might be having a little bit of connection trouble, but man, quite a big battle going on there as Eric Smith tries to make a move there on Jimbo Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer not having the best of races, got spun early, and Eric Smith as well. So these guys are all part of the crew trying to recover from their earlier incidents. Now one pit stop in, and this is a good battle going on. Andrew Oakey's got some good run on Eric Smith now.
Christian, now that we're pretty well into the night, you can see how dark it is out on track. Was it more difficult to judge distances and things like that when you get into these battles and you just have your headlights to tell what's going on?
It is a little bit more tricky, but because the change kind of happens gradually rather than just sort of being thrown into it, you sort of don't really notice it as much as you would think, but it does kind of present some interesting problems, mainly actually with lap traffic, where you can kind of get a bit of a misunderstanding as to where they're going to go and so on. So it does make it more tricky. I think in the battles themselves, it's not so much, because especially if you're following a car, you've kind of been there the whole time, and you get a good understanding of where you are, where they are, and so on. So it's not so much a problem for battles, but it is a consideration for lap traffic.
Come back to this fight. That car you saw in was Wade Hayes, and Patrick Fleming loses it. Oh, he comes back across, and more cars pile in.
And somebody
What
lost.
could have been a single.
Eric Smith.
Go ahead.
Yeah, instant points for Smith. He was close and he's gone.
Oh.
Twilight Zone.
It could have and should have been a single car incident, but as he tried to save it, unfortunately Fleming then collected Eric
Anybody make it
Smith.
through? The last car did.
That was a 5-car incident from a 1-car spin. What an unfortunate incident. We're on board with Hearn as he goes through. Richie, a veteran of this kind of thing, sees it happening ahead of him. We'll see what he does to try and make the moves to get by.
Bill, I don't know if people believe in karma, but Richie's had horrible luck in this series. I think it owed him that one.
Did indeed. He's the only one that got through, of the 5 that got through clean.
That gives him 16th place just in the snap of a finger. So that Ferrari now looking to set his sights on Clark Archer up ahead.
What a horrible race for Eric Smith. He had about a 10-minute section where he used up about 24 incident points, and boy, he could not get away from trouble.
Another one bites the dust. Meanwhile, on screen, we're watching the battle for 11th. That is Gagnon Renault ahead of Driscoll and Torres, who, despite a little bit of a bump to the front of his car, has not allowed it to slow him down.
Yeah, Renault and Driscoll been together for quite a while here. That bump that happened there. Torres trying to catch his way back up. These guys have been battling for a couple of laps now, ever since the pit stops, and they're right together, but they've been racing a little bit more respectfully than we've seen from a couple of other guys. And so hopefully these guys will be able to keep it clean and just allow for passes on the Camel Straight here. We'll see what happens.
Staying right tight to one another through one of the few portions of the track where there is a little bit of lighting along the GP pit straight. They weave their way around La Source. This is where you want that critical good exit. And I think Ian got it because he pulls away from Driscoll to about half a second in that one corner alone.
He might be a little bit too far back to get a good toe down the straight, but yeah, just not a good enough exit, I don't believe. But we'll see what he can pull here on the Camel Straight.
I don't think he can pull anything. You're right. They're just too far back for the slipstream to be all that effective.
And as we look at this battle, I want to talk big picture here for a minute. We talked about it with Christian a while ago about what Blake Reynolds does. Get this, Blake Reynolds is your point leader. The guy behind him, Eric Smith, he's out. Thun Horswell, he's about 4 spots up on him. Liam Quinn's having a bad race. The only driver in the top 5 that's ahead of Reynolds is Travis Warling, and that's only 2.5 seconds. That's how Blake Reynolds wins championships.
It's that consistency. It's just putting in lap after lap, waiting, being patient. You don't have to pass right now. You can pass a couple laps later, especially when there's over an hour left in the race. Blake Reynolds just putting on a masterclass of how to win for endurance driving.
I'm trying to check my stats. Am I not mistaken to say that we've never had a back-to-back winner, a back-to-back drivers champion
I don't think so.
in this series?
Yeah, that would.
Don't believe we do. Fleischle, it went Fleischle, then Callisto, and then Reynolds. And then I'm trying to remember who it was before Fleischle.
Well, it wasn't Fleischle or Callisto. I know that. So
Yeah. But we're watching that battle for 11th continue. Driscoll still staying in the tire tracks through the dark of the night behind Gagnon Renault in the number 598. They break down into the bus stop. Not close enough to go on the attack this time through.
Torres is quite good on the brakes. He gains that gap back up to Driscoll very quickly when they enter the hairpin there, the chicane. And so as they go through here, it's just interesting to see where each car has their different strengths.
Scott Corbin had a problem. This was from the mid-pack, and he's currently in 18th after this spin in the bus stop. I'm trying to see if he hit anything. I think he miraculously avoids everything. Wow. No
He's
cars.
gonna need to change pants.
Yeah. Didn't hit any cars, any walls, avoided even bounding over the tall curbs. It's not easy to do in the daylight in this track.
It was that quick right-hand turn that he made right before those barriers there at the end of the chicane that really saved him. That's the scariest moment that you're going to have in a majors race for sure.
And whoever was in that orange and blue car was probably wondering, why am I suddenly getting headlights directly to my left? And grateful that whatever it came from didn't hit him. Now, Jeffrey Garzotto, look at the gap now.
Yeah.
It is 3.7 seconds.
time for him to pit. We're at the 1 hour mark to go here. Come on and take your pit stop so you don't get humiliated being passed on the track. Come on, listen to me, baby. Oh, no. All right, go around one more time.
He's got a little bit of lap traffic behind him. That's Dick Mueller.
Yeah, and Garzotto is a second and a half a lap slower, and so Cronin gaining him very quickly. It's only going to take another lap or two for Cronin to pass him on track. So Garzotto is going to have to come in soon.
Just as long as he does get passed on track. Come on in and make him stop. See where you cycle out.
Exactly.
Unfortunately for him, it's going to be the long stop. Everyone else is going to take maybe just fuel or fuel and tires.
We'll see when it comes down to that. Adam, Christian, I know we've been kind of paying attention to the background to the incidents. Do you guys have any updates? I know there was a couple drivers that were awful close.
Yeah, Christian, what do you got there?
Well, I had to poke around and spoke to a couple of the admins a little bit to try and see if I could get some information on the incidents. And last I was told, I believe Blake Reynolds and Walling are both on 21 of 35 incidents. So that's pretty high considering how long we've got of the race to go, like just under an hour. It's gonna get tight towards the end, especially if they're in a battle. And there's also, I believe, a couple of other guys who are very high on the incidents. I believe Kevin O'Keefe and Sam Adams are both on 34, so they're really tight. They literally can't make any more mistakes.
One of those drivers has just pitted. That's O'Keefe. Rutgers Kev has been in and out. Actually, has he already exited? I'm trying to find him. He disappeared on my timing screen.
Still sitting there.
Okay, there he is. There's a lot of cars to scroll through on our timing screens today. Also, Clark Archer has come in for his second stop, electing for a short middle stint. Oh, and Christian, you've caught one. Someone has left us.
Yeah, I just saw Sam Adams disconnected from the server, and I believe he's picked up that last incident, so that'll be the end of his night.
Trying to see if we could find the replay to confirm, but unfortunately we'll have to go and check that a little later. Garzotto finally takes his stop, relinquishes second place, and he should be good to go to the finish from here.
Relinquishing first place, baby.
Well, he was already passed by that
No.
point.
Oh,
Wasn't he?
No. Cronin hadn't got him yet.
Cronin had not passed?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. That's right. Come on.
So he can tout that he was not passed for the lead, I guess.
That's right.
There you go.
Soup's pride remains intact.
Love how this is Soup's pride and not Garzotto's pride that we're talking about. Meanwhile, Brennan Cronin does inherit the lead. He does still need to make his second stop. Now, he's got 7 seconds over Trevor Clement, but Clement had a shorter stop than Brennan to make up that time that he had gained in the pit stop.
And that promotes Blake Reynolds to 5th place, up 3 positions since taking his pit stop. Blake in a really good position now, but man, look at all these flashing lights we got going on there.
And Reynolds is closing on Warling. It was 2.5 last time we talked about it. Now it's 1.5.
Boy, you talk about easy pickings, and that's not to make a slam on Travis's pace, but if he is on as many incidents as we've talked about, Travis probably, I can't imagine he's going to put up too much of a fight on Blake.
Well, what we're hearing, Blake doesn't have that much to play with either. So
That's true.
Yeah, so with both of them tight on incidents, they're going to play nice with each other, hopefully. And, these two guys, very experienced drivers, especially in the major series, and I think, we'll see a gentlemanly pass here if Blake makes it up to Travis.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't known Blake to really be a terribly rude driver. He could be aggressive, but I don't recall him seeing him make any rude moves. Meanwhile, Garzotto is back out, and he returns in 28th. Now, he will gain some positions. This may sound like, 30th, it looks like, once he settles in here. It may sound like a lot of positions, but he still has a lot of drivers in front of him who will take their stop in the future. Now 31st, as he gets overtaken by Rob Gall.
we were talking about Reynolds, picking up that penalty for making a mistake on track. How about this, though? The race stewards gave out a penalty for being aggressive during practice. The Herbier got one for being overly aggressive.
People are still, this is still serious stuff in practice. People are trying to do important things, so they do not take lightly. Are we talking about practice, Bill? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the practice sessions for the majors tend to be an important facet of how this thing runs. They tend to be racing very aggressively, very closely. Teams trying to figure out strategies, trying to figure out pit stops, and tensions can run high in practice, even though, we're just talking about practice.
I guess.
Watching Driscoll out there in the 11th position. He's starting to fall off of Ian Gagnon Renault in the number 598 Mercedes. So he'll have to try and hustle and get back up to that car if he wants to crack the top 10. Mark Torres, I made a big deal out of him having good pace after that incident, but he's starting to look a little bit stuck here.
I mean, yeah, Torres, he just hasn't been able to make his way up at all. He's been stuck behind Renault. Driscoll, same thing. They've just not been able to make any passes. They were right close together trying to pass each other, just about 3 laps ago. But at this point, I think they're just riding around, waiting until the next pit stop, or waiting until a mistake happens ahead of them in order to make that pass.
Cars have now pretty much become little specks of light flashing around in the darkness of the hills of the Ardennes. We've got battle among those flecks of light down in 21st. We haven't given Jeff Schmeier quite a lot of racing time, a lot of screen time, but Liam Quinn certainly going to give him some action.
That was really poetic, Joe. Little flecks of light in the mountains here in the Ardennes.
I was in the honors English courses.
That was well done. I like it.
But Jeff Schmeier probably not too worried about the beauty of the surrounding forest, I don't think. He is really focusing on the bright lights behind him of the number 24. Liam Quinn trying to push a little bit farther forward in his kinetic racing BMW.
Our tower only goes down so far. In 31st position, that's where Jeffrey Garzotto came out. Remember, he was our leader.
Yep, Garzotto, as we mentioned, now done with his pit stops, while those around him still need to make another. Getting awful close now, Liam Quinn gaining on the straight towards Blanchimont. Could we see an attack into the bus stop? No, he drops back through that swift left-hander, loses ground in the wake of the car ahead. While we're watching this, Christian has since been going over to the stewards, pestering them some more. What's the update you got, Christian?
I'm told that Travis Walling's now up to 26 of 35 incidents, so he's really cutting it fine, and Blake's dialed it back a little bit. He's only picked up another 2 since we last spoke, so they're both getting kind of close on him, but I feel like Travis is really close on him for this stage of the race. This is still over 45 minutes to go, I believe, so it's going to be a management exercise for him.
Yeah, and it may seem like 3 incidents really isn't that big of a deal, but around here, like you said at the beginning of the race, Christian, you pick up incidents so quickly, so that it really gets into that mental game that I was talking about at the beginning of the race. You really have to be on top of yourself mentally, or else things might fall apart for you.
They come around once again towards the bus stop and breaking into that hard chicane, that right left onto the Grand Prix pit straight. Continues to hound him for that position.
And if we could go back to P21, we have a battle going on between Jeff Schmeier and Liam Quinn. Liam Quinn gaining in his BMW on Schmeier's Mercedes. He's been looking really good through the corners, but Schmeier looks like he's got a little bit of a struggling with loose condition there. So he's struggling to go through to get power off the corners without spinning the tires. And Liam Quinn looking like he's got his car right underneath him.
Certainly does. He's applying a lot of pressure. Look at how close he is now. In fact, Schmeier might not even be able to see the lights in his mirror. He is tucked right underneath that rear wing. Last time, though, he lost out through the left-hander of Blanchimont because of the dirty air from the car ahead. And once again, you can see backs off slightly. He's closer. I just don't think he's close enough. And indeed, Schmeier's going to be able to fend him off for yet another lap.
The AMG gets a really good leap out of the corners. It's got some serious grunt underneath that hood, but Liam Quinn is taking those corners right, getting good angles out, and so if he can get a good angle here through La Source, he could get him going up the Camel Straight.
Bill, I got a little bit of help from a friend of ours as let's stay on this battle. Here's a name that'll really take you back, I guess I should say. David Williams, the champion before Fleischle.
There you go.
And no repeat winner so far.
Here comes Quinn on Schmeier. He's going to make an attempt, I think. This is the best opportunity he's had. He might have to take a late dive in. He's going to. He's alongside. Schmeier gives him room, but he can't hold it together. Neither of them can. They might come together here, but no. Quinn makes it by.
Oof, Jeff was awful hot into the corner. He knew it was happening. He woed it up, barely kept it out of the grass, but was not able to defend from Liam Quinn, who moves himself up into 21st. Let's go to 4th place.
He's been closing, he's been coming, he's been gaining, and now he is there. I'm talking about Blake Reynolds, just about 2 car lengths behind Travis Warling. He's made a couple stabs at him, and then he said, nah, I better think better of this. I think he realizes what his incident count is as well.
And we should point out that these drivers might not necessarily know about the others' incident points. Now, some of the drivers or some of the teams do have someone, a crew chief, on the box for essentially most or all of the drivers. I know that we've got Jason Fleischle out there helping with Alliance, and I'm pretty certain that Blake Reynolds' team, Riding Shotgun, should have someone. So they might be listening into the broadcast. They might be talking to the stewards themselves and getting this sort of information. But Travis Warling might not know. We don't know if he is aware that Blake Reynolds is tight on things.
Yeah, it's not something that you really think about that much when you're driving, is how close other people are on their incident points. You're just worried about yours mostly, trying to make sure that you don't go over. Because if you go over, that's the end of your day. And, as good as Blake Reynolds has been running right now, it could mean nothing if he DQ'd.
Scott Corbin coming down the pit lane at the very slow speed, looking for his pit stall. Another of our drivers getting his second stop completed. Looks like Daniel Knight is in. Jeff Schmeier also has come in. 25 minutes left. That's pretty close to evenly split thirds, is it not?
Joe, I want to bring up to the battle for P4. These two guys are about to catch up to the battle for P37 as well. Steve Silesad and Clark Archer are battling for P37 right now, and Travis Warling right up to the back of them, along with Blake Reynolds. This might get spicy.
Unlike Formula One, these blue flags are not compulsory. You only have to move over when it suits you, and as long as you are not impeding unnecessarily the car ahead. Now, unfortunately for Clark Archer, he's too much of a gentleman. He gives up the opportunity to pass Silestad in lifts, giving away a lot of time and letting both of those leaders through.
Blake's got a really good run, but Travis has the draft from Steve up ahead. And it looks like Steve's going to pull aside. That's actually not going to help Travis, but it might give an opportunity for Blake to make a late lunge. No, Blake thinks better of it, thinking of his incident count, and he decides to stay in low.
Looking for the very safe pass. Oh, it's a little bit of a bad exit from Warling coming through Malmedy, but yet still Blake Reynolds, as close as he is to that unorthodox car, he is not tempting fate.
Blue flags may not be compulsory, but compulsory. What's the word, Joe? Help me out.
Compulsory? I'm actually not sure if I used it correctly. Is it compulsory or not compulsory?
Well, either way, it is if you want to have friends in the series. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, doesn't matter which one. And sounds like we do have some information that both teams are keeping their drivers aware. Non-compulsory, we're hearing from Christian. Give it to an English person to tell us what the proper English is.
Yeah, talk about the leader here. Cronin said in the fastest lap. Joe, when they came out of the pit stops, that gap between him and Clement was just about 2.5 seconds. Cronin really opened it up since then.
He seems to be the guy to beat, and he sets another fastest lap at a 2:15.0. It is pretty cool out there. It's 69 degrees on track, so it's only gone down 1 degree. But the air temperature has gone down as well to 67, so the drivers obviously getting something into happy hour just without the light. Only thing is that high humidity certainly clogging up the engine, and the air makes it more dense. They do take that into account here in iRacing.
Blake Reynolds has a pretty decent run right now on Travis Worling. They both get pretty bad exits, though, coming out of Radion, so that's going to be another lap where Blake isn't going to be able to make the pass. It's possible that Blake is just content to sit here behind Travis, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the pit stop strategy is for everybody, whether who's going to take tires, who's going to take only fuel.
My guess is Reynolds will have to pay a little steeper price in pit lane than Worling did. I think Reynolds might have short-filled a touch on that first stint.
Could we potentially bring up a lap comparison, but might not be the drivers you're thinking? Reynolds and Alcrudo. Now, Miguel is behind him in 6th place, but with Reynolds not immediately making this pass on Worling, I went back to look, and it looked to me like Miguel is running slightly faster laps. So Blake might not, yeah, here we go. And, he was a little slower all the way up until this latest lap. So maybe not the threat that I was thinking of. But still, I feel like Blake can't hang around here too long. Eventually, he's got to get the hurry on.
Blake might be out of tires, might be realizing that the risk is really high, but he's got a pretty decent run right now. It's close, but he's still got to make it, through the chicane and through La Source, but he might try a late lunge here. It's not the safest move. Yeah, he backs out of it. And yeah, it's just, you got to choose the right spot. There's not that many good, safe places to pass on this track, to be honest.
Seems like a lot of drivers struggling to stay close through Blanchemont to get that run for a lunge into the bus stop. Maybe this one a little bit better, with it being a slow corner, not aero dependent through the bus stop, and then a heavy braking zone into La Source. Reynolds not quite close enough, but space at the apex left by Worling.
Yeah, Reynolds has a pretty decent run right now. The draft is going to help. It just depends on what he can get through Eau Rouge and then coming out of Radion. Ooh, he gets a little loose there.
Probably playing it safe at this point. Just trying to not push the car too far. Because it's not just the incident points. You also have to worry here in the darkness about losing the car itself and wrecking. Meanwhile, down in 19th, Liam Quinn in yet another battle, this time with another name we haven't seen in a long time. German Fanador joins us. The Georgia driver is currently threatening on the BMW, and he might actually stick his nose in for too wide through Blanchemont. Nope, I think Liam Quinn's going to give it up.
Yeah, risky move, but it looks like Fanador has some good pace there, and so he was able to make that gap work and take that position, forcing Liam Quinn to give it up. That was a pretty efficient move from Fanador there.
Quinn, another driver in the championship hunt, playing the safe.
Yeah, but Quinn, I think this one's going to hurt Quinn with as far down as he is in the points. Got a few other places that are relatively close. Wonder if we could go to 11th with Driscoll and Torres. I keep talking about Mark being stuck here. He's still about half a second behind the number 51. But maybe he'll have a little bit easier time once Driscoll continues to drop off of Gagnon Renault, because he's fallen back to about 1.1 seconds off of the Canadian driver. On board with Torres in ahead. Oh, and one of our top drivers are in. In fact, two of them. That is Clement, you see ahead, and Bennett behind him. Both Alliance drivers.
All right, Christian, what do you think? Is this for fuel only, or are these guys going to take tires?
I'm pretty sure this is going to be fuel only. I've actually been watching both of them the past couple of laps because they jumped out into kind of second and third place, and when I saw it, I thought their stationary time was quite short, so I figured they'd be coming in early, and this was actually a little bit later than I expected. I thought they might come in with about 45 minutes to go, but it's actually closer to 40, so they were able to go a little bit longer than I thought, but still, they're going to have a slightly longer stop than pretty much everybody else inside the top 10, I think, at this point. So it'll be interesting to see where they filter out.
We ride on board with Adam Halleck, who's chasing Brian McGreevy, reverse of what we were seeing before with Quinn. It's the BMW chasing in this case, a Mercedes that he is trying to run down.
Actually, go ahead, Sue.
Well, I just want to ask Christian, so will Warling and Reynolds be faster since they're not changing tires right now? I'm talking about Clement and the guys who are coming in who made the stops. Oh.
Meanwhile, pass on screen. And that is Blake Reynolds finally getting past Travis Warling.
Yeah, he's got places to go.
Writing a Ulysses level novel before he finally decides to close the chapter. It looks like just finally got himself a run he was happy with. Looked to the inside. Was given space at the apex down into Fanyes and sealed the deal.
Yeah, I think he wants to hot lap now because Clement is in. Clement took his stop. Bennett took a stop. He's going to try to do the overcut, I guess. I don't know.
Overcut would be pitting later and jumping the car ahead. Yeah, so
that's what he's doing.
that moves Reynolds up to P2. Warling slots down into third. Does not drop away very quickly. He stays within touch. Should Reynolds make a mistake and hand it right back? Reynolds hoping not to do that.
Can we go to the leader real quick? This is I wanted Gazzota to pit before he got passed on the track for first position. This is even more humiliating. He's about to be lapped. So
Yeah, Garzoto's pace just has not been great on this second stint, and Cronin, as we know, has been putting in screaming lap times. He's
now look at
I know, yes, he's trying.
Garzoto's fighting, man.
But he's just, I mean, Cronin's just putting in purple lap times all over the place. So Garzoto, I mean, like, what can you do, man? Garzoto's put in a good fight, but, you know, Cronin, at this point, even if Cronin were to pit now, Garzoto would not come out ahead.
No, certainly not.
You don't need to cover this. We can get off. We don't need to see this. Boy's doing fine.
Cronin is taking a bit of time to try and get by. So we ride on board. Interestingly, and sort of ironically, it's two Audis together. No, excuse me. No, it's not. It's a Ferrari for Cronin. It's dark. I can't see. I blame the sun.
They're coming up to the bus stop. It could be. Oh, he's flashing his lights.
Yeah.
That's just rude.
Well, no, that's not rude. He's lapping the car.
Better not.
I think, honestly, I think that was probably a good call from him because he was putting his nose inside. He was making sure that he looked at his mirror, that Garzoto saw the pass was coming then.
It wasn't rude, but just made me sad.
Bill gets really emotionally invested in these races. Richie Hearn, former IndyCar driver, comes in for his scheduled stop, his second one.
Making that slow trundle down to the endurance pits. This is probably the most painful part about driving around Spa, is having to cruise at 60 miles per hour into this pit box.
There's no stalls along that portion. Why don't they just make it cut a little bit wider so it's not, don't have to go through that hairpin. Just like straight line it, Make it shorter.
Yep.
I don't know.
Europeans.
Bill's going to start an international incident. Driscoll is in as he falls down the order. I tell you what, I think Reynolds' difficulty in passing Warling might be down to pace, because I'm looking back to that, and Travis he's been as close as 0.3 of a second behind Reynolds. He's not fallen back at all.
Yeah, Travis has been keeping with him. I mean, like, it's good to see that these two guys are so close. I mean, they're close on incidents, they're close on race pace. It's awesome to see how good these drivers are. But Blake Reynolds really had to make that move. He had to get by Travis, and now they're into the lap cars. So that's probably also something that's keeping Warling close. Trying to pass lap traffic, even when they move out of the way, such as Wayne did in that moment for both of them, that's still something that slows you up. It takes your mind off of your rhythm, and it gets you out of rhythm, and it really throws a wrench in the works. And so it's hard to find your rhythm while you're passing lap traffic.
All right, with Driscoll pitting, get your soup boards out, because Trevor Clement is currently our highest pitter at 2 stops, and he is in 12th place.
About a minute 6 behind Reynolds.
So that's something to keep an eye on, and we'll keep you up to date on who is the highest driver to have completed his second stop. No driver can go this race on a single stop. Clement with a little bit of traffic, but that's a lapped car he's going by. That's Schmeier. About a half an hour left to go in this 2.4-hour race. Brendan Cronin is your leader. Still yet to make a second stop, but he has gapped the rest of the fields pretty well. So at this point, unless we start to see some mistakes or a lack of pace or something dramatic happen to the 48, we expect that the New England driver has this one under wraps.
.22 cars on the lead lap. They'll get a few more of those back when the leader pits.
Adam, you've been following a driver that we haven't really shown a whole lot of, but it looks like he's in a close fight down in 14th.
Yeah, German Afanador, we talked about him passing Liam Quinn. Liam Quinn's struggling a little bit on pace, but Afanador's really found his pace in the middle of the night. He's really starting to take off now, and he makes his pass on Loeski Olio there, and he's going to be able to get by. Olio flashing his lights, not happy about the way the pass is made, but Afanador gets by. He should be able to take off into the night. It's cool to see this driver really start to pick up his pace now. He's got Brian Bennett 11.7 seconds ahead, so this is probably as far as he can go. So as long as he can pull away from Loeski, he'll be good to go for the race in 14th
the way
position.
With how quick he caught him, I think he's easily going to be able to pull away from Loeski. You can see he's already dropped him by a number of car lengths, so the 236 falls down to P15. Really has to worry about his own race now instead of flashing his lights at Afanador. Boy, German goes a long way back here on GSRC. If anybody remembers the CESCS, racing in a little bit slower cars, but sports cars nonetheless. German hailing from the States, so don't let his first name fool you.
It fooled me. Thanks, Joe. That was helpful.
Of course it would for you.
I was confused.
And we're also, I want to go back to P8. Gadon Renault has been struggling to get past lap traffic here. He's trying to make his way past Clark Archer. Mark Torres, in his struggles to try and get past Renault, still, after all these pit stops, after everything that's happened, Mark's only been in the pits once. He's still stuck now behind Renault. These guys, I think Mark's just hoping that he's made better fuel numbers and that he can get past Renault in the pits, because he's been here for well over 45 minutes at this point.
I'm kind of shocked at what's happened with our pole sitter Torres. The 05 looked, a little slow at the start, but you would think our pole sitter would still be a contender up for the top of the field. Ever since his spin, he has climbed a number of positions, but then he had that little bit of contact, and it didn't look like much, but it's like it just sucked up everything in that car.
Top 4 qualifying spots: 9th, 12th, 17th, and the final one would be, who knows what, 47th. Qualifying's overrated.
Apparently in this endurance race.
And here's Liam Quinn into the pits. I was wondering when he was going to pit because he was losing time on track hand over fist. Good to see him coming into the pits. Hopefully, I believe in his last stop he did not take tires, so hopefully he'll pick up tires this time and have a little bit more pace for the close of the last half hour of this race.
Around that hairpin and down the hill towards the traditional pits. A lot of our battles have really pulled apart out on the track as we get later in the race, and Reynolds comes in for his second stop. All right, the number 1 car now going to show exactly where he's going to line up once his stop is done and who he's going to be fighting to the end.
Clement, so far away, just got through Puhan. It seems like there's no chance for Trevor Clement to get there, but I think he will.
Yeah, I think Reynolds shorted his stop just a hair. I was actually just looking at incidents again, and I'm told that Travis Walling is actually up to 30 out of 35 now. So he's really close. If he has one 4X and an off track, that'll be the end of his day. Reynolds has got up to 27 out of 35, so he's got a little bit more in hand, but still not a lot. I'm actually expecting we'll pretty much see everybody come down within the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. Blake was actually maybe a lap or two earlier than I expected. I did think he'd be earlier than the rest just because of how he jumped ahead, but we'll have to see how he comes out versus Clement and Bennett here, because they also took earlier stops.
Ooh. Quick stop for Reynolds, 18 seconds compared to Clement, who was in there for nearly 30. And Trevor's got the speed, though.
This might be close.
This is going to be very close, I think. Reynolds now just getting up his momentum. Trevor up and over Radillion.
Who's that spun?
Oh, I believe it was David Glenn. I don't think Glenn was running in 44th.
Thankfully, none of our leaders hit that car. Had to be a little bit of a scary moment. And Reynolds, when all things settle out, is about 2 seconds ahead of Clement.
A really impressive stop for Clement for sure. Brendan Cronin, he's coming across now. He's going to take another lap. Travis Warling, I believe, will join him. We'll see what happens as he goes through the final corner.
He does indeed. Alcrudo continues, surveys. Nobody really seems to be a taker this lap. Maybe fuel mileage a little bit better. There we go. Matthew Thunhorst is coming on in.
Matthew Thunhorst pitting from P6, I believe. That's a good place for him after the trouble he was having earlier in the race. So he's clawed his way back into a top 10.
Christian, Travis Warling was only about maybe a half second behind Reynolds when Reynolds pitted. Will Reynolds' tires cool off? Are the tires difficult if you don't make a tire change? Are they harder on the first lap out, or it doesn't really matter?
Be honest, I didn't really notice that much of a difference. I fully expect that we'll see that Travis will come out ahead though, just on the time difference in the stop. Right. I really am surprised that Reynolds was actually that short. I didn't think he shorted it by that much. So I fully expect we'll see Travis will come out ahead. But at this point, the tires they're kind of all the same. Once we got into night, there isn't really that much of a difference or an advantage, so to speak.
Well, Blake continues out on track as our cameras follow him. Thunhorst has hit his stall. But unless Thunhorst has a very short stop, he is definitely not going to come out ahead of Reynolds, who is currently our highest pitter with 2 stops. Reynolds streams on by. Thunhorst gets passed by Clement. What about Bennett? Might come out just with Bennett. Matt gets it going, but he's not got his speed up yet. There goes Brian on by, just as he sees the headlights of Thunhorst exiting pit lane.
The pit lane is just, it takes so long to get to your pit box. Most of these drivers who are on the, once you go around the corner, it takes them a full minute to get to their pit boxes. And that, compared to your lap time around this entire circuit is 2 minutes and 15 seconds. That's half of a lap you spend just trundling your pit box. That is how hard, it's such a mental game, this track.
Let's
More
talk
like
about
going around again. Go ahead,
Let's
Joe.
talk about hard chargers for a second, because just behind Matthew Thunhorst, now that he's pitted, is German Afanador, just about a second and a half behind. Now, the reason I bring up German is not only is he 14th, but he's taken his 2 stops I'm seeing, and he started 31st. Now, actually, no, wait, I see his second stop was 25 laps ago. So did he have an extra one at the very beginning then?
It appears so. He's definitely going to have to pit again, isn't he, Christian?
Yeah.
Actually not sure on that. He might. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I'll go and look and try and pick it up.
Well, Christian's doing some research on that. If German can go to the end, that is an incredible climb for him. Mark Torres finally pits. So does Gagnon Renault.
These two locked in battle for the better part of an hour now, and we'll see who's able to make it out of the pits faster. Looks like, we'll see whether Torres is hoping that he gets out faster, because he's been stuck behind Renault for quite a while.
Yeah, unfortunately for the number 05, he's lacked a lot of pace in the latter half of this race. We watch him come down in. Christian's come back with a handful of papers. Christian, what do you got?
Yeah, I was just looking through, and he has only stopped once. He'll have to come down in probably the next 2 laps, I think. So it's he's climbed up to 14th, but I don't think he's going to stay there, I'm afraid.
False alarm from me on that climb through the field. Gagnon Renault is out well ahead of Torres. Actually, a long ways ahead.
Yeah, we got a good battle going on here. Thunhorst, Renault, and Afanador. Afanador just behind this group of drivers. So with these guys not taking tires, it's possible that actually Afanador did take tires at the last stop. So he's going to have better tires than the rest of this group. He might be able to gain these positions back.
Thickens for German to ride on board of them. Looking forward, that is not Gagnon Renault up ahead. Or actually, is it? Oh, that is Gagnon Renault. Sorry, I was thinking of Torres before. Yes, so the 261 is in chase of the 598.
With it being night now, the stints don't really take that much, as much out of your tires as they would, with the sunlight. So it's not that it's going to make as much of a difference as it would under direct sunlight in the afternoon. But those new tires should help German make his way through the corners a little better.
So can he maybe scalp one before his pit stop? He doesn't have much longer to go. Wide there for Ian coming through Blanchimont. This is going to be lap 26, and that's as far as German goes. He ducks into the pits.
It's going to be a short stop for him, but with pit lane being 2 minutes long, it's not going to feel short.
Certainly not. He should manage to have a bit of a shorter stop, of course, since this is his second pit stop. So I want to say we're looking at a minute 20 to a minute 30 for most drivers here for stop number 2 from cone to cone. This is our leader, Brendan Cronin, who leads by 28 seconds, but that is over Travis Worling, who has not stopped, and Cronin has not stopped, but a bunch of cars behind them. have taken their second stop, the highest of which is still Blake Reynolds, who currently runs in 8th.
Yeah, and we've been comparing his laps compared to Travis Warling's, and very interesting to see the difference here with Blake Reynolds. Just take a look. Travis Warling, it's kind of been a toss-up here between the last 2 laps. Whereas Blake lost about half a second on lap 52 coming out. Lap 53, he gained a couple of tenths. So it's really just a wash-up at the moment. And Travis Warling is in.
So this will decide where the two of them come out in relation to each other. Remember, Reynolds going for a championship here. So every position counts. He wants to try and be ahead of this car that he's been fighting with for much of the race.
Reynolds just
Alfredo also pitting.
in the Blanchimont right now, unless Warling's stop is really fast.
Yeah, and Reynolds up towards the bus stop. Warling still looking for his stall, and now he's found it and is in.
Reynolds through the bus stop.
Let's see how short Warling's stop is.
Keeping an eye on him as we watch Blake Reynolds. You see the time for Warling's stop on the right-hand side when you see one of those boxes stop, which it just did. 19 seconds for Travis Warling. Blake Reynolds has got his momentum going. He's going to get him easily. Swings around through Eau Rouge and give that spot to Blake Reynolds. That promotes him up to 4th with all the cars that have pitted.
Comes out Crudo. He gets passed by Clement.
And he's still got
Looks like they're
Peterson
gonna...
and Hervase to pit still. Christian, you were talking about Reynolds' bad days.
Yeah, they're never as bad as everybody else, pretty much. And speaking on the whole Reynolds and Warling battle, I feel like that's over now. I'm told that Warling's on 32 incidents. He doesn't have a pass that he can make without risk of a DQ, so I think Reynolds clearing him there is kind of nailed that one shut now.
Certainly did. He's got about a second and a half over Warling. Now, if he has better pace is another question.
What's interesting, before the stops, though, Reynolds and Warling, well, they say 4th and 5th right now, but they were behind Clement and El Crudo.
That's true, yeah. Oh, and what happened to Banfield? He was one of our front runners. He's off the track right now, and this is in Pouhon. I think this is just plain driver error.
Another case of the Audi biting with that oversteer.
And very similar to what we saw before. He could feel it oversteering very early, was counter steering, but there was just no catching it. This drops him to 11th because of that incident. Impressively, we still have, I see 42 out of our 51 drivers running in this race.
Leif Peterson coming in to make his stop.
Yep, this hands 3rd place to Reynolds. So at this point, he is only waiting for Austin and Brendan to pit in front of him. I don't think that he's going to be able to chase down Brendan because we haven't seen him faster than him pretty much all race long. "15 minutes left on the clock. Just a handful of cars that need to come in and take a stop. And who is this that we see coming in?
That's our leader.
There's our leader. All right, 48 coming in and finishing out his pit stops. You know, we were talking about German Afandador trying to figure out whether he was a good climber or not. I'd say he still is. He's 18th. And I think he might get one more because he's got Kevin Ovali ahead of him next, and he's in the pits right now.
But he's 3 spots behind Jeffrey Gazzardo. Gazzotto just got his lap back. Got it, boy!
Austin Hervais also takes to the pit lane as well from second position.
Now, is Blake Reynolds going to be able to jump Austin in this? Because Blake is still coming up to Stavolo.
Yeah, this will be interesting because not only it's Reynolds, it's Warling, it's Clement, it's Ocrudo. So this stop is really important.
Here we see Reynolds out of Stavolo, now heading towards Blanchemont. Austin in his 260 Ferrari has just hit the traditional pits.
Reynolds is at the bus stop. It'll be close.
Yeah, I think Blake will get him. I think he'll easily head on by, because Austin just came into a stall and the clock is ticking up. If we're looking at about a 20-second stop, Blake is very easily going to go by. Oh, 13-second stop for Austin.
I still don't think it's enough.
Very quick. Yeah. Blake's got the momentum on his side. You can see the two of them in the same picture. And Blake Reynolds now up to second place, legitimately, having started in 19th.
Here
Austin's
comes
losing the spot to
Warling.
Travis.
Yeah.
Oof.
Warling gets him, but not Clement.
Just off the podium for the number 260 car. He could yet get himself back onto it. As you can see, we ride on board, and the unorthodox car in front of him is within reach.
If Hervais knows that Warling's high on incidents, he might try something risky and force Warling to give up the position. It's a strategy that you can use if you're in a better incident point position than the other drivers, and Travis is within that 4 incident limit for contact, so he's going to have to be very careful with Austin pushing in.
Riding on board with the 260 now, just behind the Mercedes of Travis Warling. Warling does have some help from his team, of course, being on Orthodox, but Austin Hervais, I believe he's an independent driver. Yeah, we're seeing he does not have a team, so he might not be aware of Travis Warling's incidents.
He's tucked up right behind. He's got some good speed with that Ferrari. He's got a good draft, too. We'll see whether or not he can make the pass here.
What did we say Warling was at? It was like 32, wasn't it? 31, we're hearing.
Oh, and that's another one.
Yeah, it is indeed. So make that 32 for sure.
That's cutting it
Now-
really close.
And especially if he gets into a fight with Austin. If they make car contact that's hard enough, a 4X will make Travis disappear. Oh, we're hearing it's 33 actually now.
Oh, Austin's almost alongside here. Travis is going to have to be really careful. This is a place where you can definitely make contact if you're not careful. Up Eau Rouge and through Radion.
He's got to last for 11 minutes. He's made it this far. A good run off of Radion. Austin now in the slipstream, riding on board, looking over his shoulder. He ducks out to the inside with a move on Travis Warling. Warling makes no effort to try and defend. He lets him through and lives to fight another day. Austin back onto the podium. This is another driver who has surely made good use of his race pace, having qualified in P13.
Yeah, it's just smart driving from Travis. It's not the way you want to finish a race, but it's a lot better than DQing. That is 33 incidents is way, way too tight. So Travis he might even have to start backing off the pace here to make sure that he makes it to the end. He's got about 10.5 minutes to go.
But only 0.6 of a second back to Clement.
Yeah, that's true. So he could fall down to 5th. And then Alcrudo's only 2 seconds behind Clement. So they'll keep coming. Warling could wind up finishing out with a whimper instead of a roar, unfortunately. 10 minutes left to go now. All drivers have taken at least 2 stops. If you're going to make a pass, you got to do it out on track from here on out. driver into the ether. Unfortunately, Scott Corbin, the latest victim.
And it wasn't the best move ever. I was watching this as it happened, and Scott Corbin laid on the brakes and wasn't able to woe it up in time. Makes contact.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, and he blinks away.
Netcode involved in it, unfortunately.
Can we get a slow motion of him blinking away? See if I can see a soul. Yeah.
Jeez, Bill. First, you want to see drivers die on the broadcast. Now you want to see their soul.
Something happens when you blink away.
Something makes me think we have a Dementor in here.
Yeah. Let's go to 12th place. This is Alberto Blasco with Brian Bennett giving chase. Bennett was closer just a moment ago. And Bennett was going
He's way off
very,
pace.
very slow. What is going on here? Meanwhile, in 4th place, Trevor Clement has Travis Warling, or has overtaken Travis Warling, actually, and now got himself up into the 4th spot. So let's watch and see how this happens. Another slipstream up the Kimmel Straight. You bother to defend? Nope. He's just going to let him have it.
That's just not fair.
Well, is this either love or war?
Yeah, it's
Because all's fair in both of those, and I'd say that Warling's just dealing with what everybody else has. Alcrudo's still 2 seconds behind. Warling's got to keep pace if he wants to stay in the top 5. Now, Bennett is still going slow.
Yeah, Joe, I've tried to go back and see what happened, but it looks like he might be saving fuel. He might be short on fuel at the end of the race because he's lifting and coasting significantly at the end of the Kimmel Straight.
7 minutes is a long time.
Yeah,
Well, I
he's
know-
short shifting as well.
Well, I know we've had a little bit of contact with the Alliance crew chief out there, so I wonder if Brian is shouting at Jason about the fuel calculations at the moment.
Yeah, he's way short shifting now, guys.
7 minutes to go. It's a little late to be trying to do this.
And his pace on this is not great either. So this is just a survival game for him now.
Oh, we're getting information. Jason's telling us they're a lap short. Christian, you think you could save a whole lap's worth of fuel within just about 3 laps here?
Well,
I mean, it depends on how short he is. If he's only a little bit short, then probably. But by how he's driving, he looks incredibly short, to be honest. That said, it still probably works out better than taking a trip down pit road, just because pit road's so long and you'll lose so much. So even though he's going really slowly, it still might work out better to do this than to pit again.
so he needs Cronin to lap everybody up to him, right? So he doesn't have to go around that one extra time.
You know, that might not be beyond possibility because Cronin has 30 seconds over Blake Reynolds, and Reynolds is in 2nd place. This is just a thwomping on the rest of the field.
Yeah, I was fully expecting the Mercedes to be the fastest car around here, but Cronin just really does have an understanding of this track and this car combination. And he's really showing the field how it's done. He continues to pull on Blake Reynolds even this far into the race, and we know how fast Blake is. What an impressive showing from Cronin.
In fact, we're going to take a look at the lap comparisons between them. As we ride on board with Cronin dealing with the lap traffic. That's Loeski. He's wasn't he the one he was trying to go by before, or were we thinking of somebody else?
I
Yeah,
don't believe so.
Regardless, Loeski's going to let him through. He's not interested in trying to stay ahead of him. Next car. Ooh, here you go, Bill. Liam Quinn, one of our championship contenders, about to get lapped at this race, depending on how quickly Brendan can catch him.
Yeah, that's Well, he's got to get. Doesn't he have Nick Kuhn first, right? Yes. Well, Kuhn's not on the lap. Okay, I got it.
No. He's already been lapped. Yeah. Quinn's the next one, 20th place.
I don't think he's going to get there.
10th place is Mark Torres, and he's finally going to get a position. Steve Driscoll to the outside, doesn't defend into the bus stop. I think Torres has been working on this for just about an hour's worth of time, but finally cracks into the top 10.
Well, I mean, I wish I could agree with you, Joe, but the person he was battling with for over an hour, Ian Gagnon Renault, is in 8th position, 10 seconds up the road. So Mark Torres actually lost time ever since taking that pit stop, and Renault just taking off into the sunset. The person he was stuck behind for that entire stint, and now he can't even see him ahead of him.
Well, I guess the main note after this race for Torres is going to be he's got to work on his race setup and his race pace. Getting info from Christian that there was a spin involved in Mark's out-lap, or in-lap, it looks like. So that explains some of the loss of his time. Racing for the Kinetic team. The ride-in shotgun guy is going to pull in a nice haul of points with Reynolds up there in second. Clement, though, for the Alliance team, obviously going to be contributing for them, and the number 111 riding in fourth. And then Unorthodox. Unorthodox, to me, is sort of the Cinderella story this season, Bill, because we really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to them. And as the season has gone by, they've put more and more drivers into this pro split. And now look at the sort of results that they're getting.
Yeah, exactly. I had big hopes for Kinetic. I really thought Kinetic would make a run at Alliance. That hasn't materialized, although they sit in second. But yeah, Unorthodox having a strong run.
That Ferrari you saw facing the wrong way on the track, that was Richie Hearn, and the incident was in No Name.
2 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Richie!
Oh no, just getting loose, spinning the tires on the exit there. And P5, it looks like.
Meanwhile, we got to watch this battle on screen, because this is for 5th position. El Crudo trying to pass Warling. Warling staying to the inside. Oh, he really wouldn't want to go too wide through here. And finally, El Crudo gives it up through Eau Rouge. But Travis with, what do we have, 2 laps to go here? Trying to desperately hold on to a top 5 finish for this Unorthodox team.
2 laps more important to Warling. 18 corners. Yeah.
Gotta keep that car clean. Crudo rides very closely behind him. And he's flashing his lights at him now. Now, he's not a lapped car. Miguel's just using, it's not a dirty move, but some don't take kindly to you flashing their lights when it's for position.
Maybe he's worried he has his high beams on.
Down into Puhan. This could be up to 34 incidents at this point, we think, for Travis Warling. As we watch this, though, Bill, you got to be careful. You're talking about disappointment with Kinetic. We got a Kinetic driver in here.
That's true. Well, yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, they're competing in the European region. A little bit of distance now, Travis Warling to Miguel Alcrudo. Well up ahead of these two. We don't need to go to it. Brennan Cronin just took the white flag.
Yeah, Miguel might not have been happy about Travis, taking Eau Rouge and Radion in his own line, but Miguel was not really alongside at that moment, so Miguel's really going to have to pull out a steamer of a last lap to try and make a pass here. He's quite a ways back, though. I think that game might be up. Travis might be secure in 5th.
I think this will make the big difference. Out of here and then through Eau Rouge. It looks like a pretty good exit, honestly, for Travis Warling. So I think you're right. I think he is safe as long as he doesn't go off track here over Radillion. look clean to me. All he has to do now is survive the run out of Stavolo towards the bus stop. Bill, I got bad news for you. Liam Quinn is very close to being lapped. It depends on Cronin's mood, I think, and whether or not Quinn wants to go this final lap. There you can see he is being chased by Brendan Cronin in the red Ferrari, the blue BMW of Liam Quinn in that kinetic car, just a couple car lengths ahead.
Absolutely no reason for Quinn to try to stay on the lead lap other than for pride.
And
Or fuel saving.
Yeah, that too. Now Cronin caught him very easily, but he's lifting. I don't think Cronin really wants to mess with this at this point, so he backs off. All he has to do is make his way through the bus stop. Brendan Cronin, 8th on the grid, charged up through the field early, put his stamp on the race. Now he's going to grab that checkered flag with both hands. Victory to Brendan Cronin here in the 2.4 hours of Spa.
That was an impressive win from the green flag. You said it, Joe.
Now, Blake Reynolds with a hefty gap. No, I shouldn't say hefty gap, but a healthy gap.
Miguel is definitely gonna try something here. If he gets a run on Travis, he's gonna try and stick it up the inside. He's been flashing his lights. He might try something here. Travis blocks it off, and Miguel thinks about it, but thinks better of it, and he can't make it by. Travis looks like he's gonna secure 5th. Oh my goodness, yes he is.
Oof, more critically, he was not touched by Miguel Alcrudo. Remember, he couldn't get a 4X, or else he'd disappear a corner from the line. Alcrudo settles for P6. Looking back through the field, I'm seeing a lot of drivers separated. Do we have anybody limping to the line, though? Did Bennett make it in the end?
Bennett is still out there. He's fallen down to 17th spot.
And he's on the lead lap, so he's
a long way to go.
Yeah, he does. And we're getting information that he has saved enough.
Yeah, there's 3 spots that he could possibly lose to Fanador, Fleming, and Quinn.
Most everybody pretty spread apart here at the end. And though Bennett has someone behind him. There's your friend Garzotto finishing across the line. Where did he wind up, actually?
13th, baby.
That's actually a very good run for Jeff. Though he qualified 14th, that's still a position up. Not easy to come by that high of positions here.
May not have won the race, but he won my heart.
German to Fanador. I think he won my heart on this one. 31st to 17th. I think that's one of the biggest climbs we've seen. And Bennett's going to take, he's got to make sure he hands that time back before he crosses the line, or else he'll get a penalty. But Bennett looks like he will get that 17th place. Oh, just barely. That's Patrick Fleming. That was for position. Fleming is going to follow him home, though. That's going to be the last of our cars because Liam Quinn, the last across the line. We'll come back after we give you a few of the upcoming races here on GSRC on screen. Then we'll give you the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So stick around. see, the sun has now gone down. It is nearly midnight, just past 11 o'clock virtual standard time after the race. And Brendan Cronin was the one who took it from daylight into the night and took the victory. Blake Reynolds coming from a penalty in qualifying, putting him down to 19th on the grid, wound up finishing second. Boy, you talk about a driver with nerves of steel. He just does not quit. Austin Hervais, who is someone we don't really see here often in the series, finished in third. Trevor Clement managed to get into fourth. Travis Warling, very nervous times, almost to the limit on incidents, could have been DQ'd, but managed to hold off Miguel El Crudo, take fifth, and El Crudo finishing sixth behind him. Matthew Thunhorst in seventh, with Ian Gagnon Renault in eighth position. Ross Banfield gets a ninth, and Mark Torres, disappointment after being on the pole, only manages 10th. Bill?
9 more drivers on the lead lap. Steve Driscoll and Alberto Blasco go 11th and 12th. 13th in the standings, first in our heart, Jeffrey Garzotto. Leif Peterson is in 14th, just ahead of Little Train Lionel Calisto. All ribbons and curls in 16th, Joe's driver, German Alfanador, with Brian Bennett able to limp that car around without fuel in 17th. Patrick Fleming and Liam Quinn go 18th and 19th. First car one lap down is Levesky Diolio. I'll go with that one, Diolio.
Second car one lap down is Adam Halleck, followed by Clark Archer. Brian Barnes coming home in 23rd. Kevin O'Vale in 24th position. Brian McGreevy, didn't hear much of him tonight, unfortunately, coming home in 25th position. Wade Hayes in 26th position after his troubles. Ray Partridge in 27th. Rob Gall in 28th. Lance Nazier, not a great race for him, unfortunately, 29th position. Daniel Knight rounding out the top 30.
31st goes to Andrew Oakey, with Jeff Schmeier in 32nd. Jimbo Pfeiffer, P33 for him. Kevin Hill, another driver that unfortunately fell backwards from 11th to 34th. Dick Mueller, P35 for him. Wayne Hutchison finishes in 36th, and Marcus Tracy 37th. Richie Hearn, a little bit from the end, found himself in the wall, and that settled him down to 38th after what looked like a pretty decent run. Steve Seilstad was 39th, and Nick Kuhn was 40th. Bill?
And the final drivers, Peter Hebron, Scott Corbin, David Glenn, Kevin O'Keefe coming home in 14th spot ahead of Daniel Manzano. Vincent Leherbier, rough night for him as he gets 46th position. Eric Smith, even a rougher night, started on the outside of row 1, will have to settle for 47th and drop in the points. Bob Salami Beltrami in 48th, just ahead of Sam Adams. Mirko Frontini in 50th. I think that's the last car that actually took the grid.
And with that, we've got second place ready to talk to us, Blake Reynolds, who really made good on a bad situation. Blake, you were penalized and started a little farther back than you probably wanted to in 19th. How did you go about coming into this race? Did you have a plan to try and climb forward? And at what point did you realize kind of where you were set for?
I really didn't know. I didn't put in very many laps, so I just kind of showed up, and Adam Young told me I needed to finish this race. So that's the only thing I was told. So I just went out there and kept the car on track, tried to keep it as clean as possible. I was also pretty close on incidents. I figured Trevor was there at the end, but I made it there at the end.
Yeah, we were kind of watching that. We were getting fed information about how tight incidents were getting for you. I'd say you did better than simply finishing a podium. Is phenomenal considering the situation. What is this race like, though, going from the daytime and into the night? Because Spa is a little bit notorious for being incredibly dark.
Yeah, I actually hadn't tested in the full darkness, but the headlights, man, props to iRacing. The lighting there at the beginning was fantastic. And then the headlights. I feel like I could see 3 times more than I could before we had any of the cool lighting stuff we have now. I think that helped me in the darkness. And then, starting 20th, I had a good handling car. Lance Nasir and Clark Archer worked hard on the Merc set. I think Clark ended up running the Audi. So I knew I just needed a lot of turn. My car was super loose in the daytime, so I just kind of held on to it there and was running, in the 15th to 20th range there with my teammates Sam and Lance. And then, as it came nighttime and the grip picked up, the car was handling amazing enough to where I was hitting my fastest laps on the old tires there at the end.
Obviously, next round we head off to the dirt oval round in this series in the winged 410. I'm pretty sure you told us in the past, did you not, that you're not as confident on dirt ovals? Is that correct?
No, I'm literally the worst person on dirt.
How are your feelings heading off to the next round? Because we were talking about how we haven't had a repeat champion yet. So do you feel like a second championship in a row is doable for you?
Maybe. I struggled there for a bit, mostly just because I was finding it hard to balance between the eNASCAR stuff and the major stuff, just because you have to really prepare for both events. The dirt stuff, I have some teammates that we added on here in the off season that are dirt guys that haven't really shown their stuff most of the season, but I think we'll be pretty strong on setup wise. So I'll just have to figure out how to drive the dirt.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing how you handle that, and if you can continue this run towards what looks like a potential second championship. Congratulations.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Up next, Bill has caught up with our winner, Brendan Cronin.
Brendan, congratulations on the win. Before we talk about what happened at the last part of the race, let's go ahead early on. Your race almost ended early. You had to make an amazing evasive move to keep the car clean.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Which time was that? In Sector 2?
Yeah, at least I think there were a couple times where you were in danger of a car spinning in front of you there early on.
Yeah, P1. Yeah, that was fun. That was one it was one of those times you kind of come around the corner and you're like, okay, left, right. There's a lot more space to the right. I'll go right. So, narrowly avoided that, but that was good.
So, are you full-time, part-time in the majors, or what's up?
Good question. I did this exact race, I think something like 3 years ago, and it's one of those series that's been on my list to do full time, and I've just been lazy and busy. And races like this, I'm like, wow, that was fun. Like, I definitely want to do full time. Just have to, really look at the schedule and get it done.
Is this your car of choice?
I've been testing it for the Spa-Francorchamps. It's probably 7/10 off the pace of the Audi here. Roughly the same as the Merc, but I really prefer the feel of this car because once you set it up right, like you can just place it wherever you want and drive it extremely consistently. So car of choice in a 24-hour race and a sprint race, tough to say. I think the Audi, the rear of it's way too light and unpredictable, so I'd prefer the Ferrari over it, but it's just simply slower.
All right, I'll get you out of here on the same question I usually ask everybody in this situation. You're out in front, the race is yours. How do you race? Do you back it down just a little bit, or do you find that if you do that, you ruin your timing and you still race close to 100% when you know that it's yours?
Close to 100, but I was actually testing different fuel maps for the 24-hour race, so seeing, how much I could fuel save and, if it was actually worth it on pace and that kind of thing. But I find out at most tracks, if you just kind of back off, you lose your focus, and then it ends up being more dangerous. So 24-hour pace, I guess, is how I'd answer the question. Just do whatever you would do in a 24-hour race. If you can sustain it, try harder to sustain a faster pace and just sustain that.
Well, look, it was great to have you come in. We always like to see new winners. We hope to see you again in some other type of vehicle, some other track car combination. Watch you down the road. Good luck to you.
For sure. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Okay, there you have it. Brendan Cronin, your winner today. Joe?
Yes, and we've got our final spot on the podium, Austin Hervais, ready to talk to Adam Lindgren.
Yeah, Austin from P13 at the beginning of the race to P3. Man, long race for you, but a good finish. How you feeling about that bronze medal there?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I mean, like you said, starting P13, it was definitely going to be a tough race from that position. But early on, just trying to get a feel for the pace and work my way up as slow and steady. But yeah, in the end, the strategy worked out where got just ahead of P4. Or actually, we got passed by P3, and then ended up trying to repass the next lap or so. But yeah, no, it was a fun race. Just getting the feel for the car for the 24-hour race next week.
Awesome and awesome. I see that you race independently, correct?
Not anymore. We actually just joined Geodesic along with Brendan Cronin. We used to race as Team Slow and still do for some of the major endurance races. But yeah, no, we just joined the gang at Geodesic Racing, and they've been great to us. So yeah, no, I'm no longer independent, but yeah, I just joined the series actually like yesterday to be able to make qualifying in the race. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, and what an amazing finish. How you just joined the series yesterday. How was it with the transition into the nighttime?
That was great. Ferrari works really well, or at least the setup we have for the Ferrari works really well as it gets into the nighttime. So the strategy of going on to doing a shorter stint on the first set of tires, and then going on to about another stint and a quarter on the second set of tires. That really worked out as the temperatures dropped. But yeah, no, it was definitely a close race. It was catching P2 just a little bit, but was just a little too far from it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for talking to us, Austin. And it's great to see two geodesic jumpsuits up on the podium today.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, that was Austin Hervais, the third place finisher. Joe, who we got next?
We've got Trevor Clement, fourth place driver, just off the podium, but found positions at the very end of the race, and Christian is going to be talking to him.
Yeah, pretty good result there for Trevor coming home P4. I mean, it's P4 on the road, but when you look at who's around him, it's kind of P2 in terms of championship points. So you must be pretty happy with that.
Hey, Christian. Yeah. First, thanks for having me in the booth, guys. Yeah, I'm definitely happy with it. Early on, I was my car with a full tank of fuel was not the best, and it was a little understeery, and I just burnt up the tires pretty bad. But I knew once I pit and went out on a different strategy with some shorter fuel that my car would be a little better, and I'd at least have half a chance. So yeah, I'm very happy with fourth.
Yeah, I saw you guys at Alliance were kind of pulling a little bit of a strategy play there. I mean, I'd said before the race that it was likely that everybody would take tires at that first stop, and then it was kind of a decision whether they would take a full tank or a half tank or anywhere kind of in between. What really pushed you to kind of go a little bit off strategy with that? Were you just kind of making a track position play, or was it really a handling deal?
No, it was really a handling deal. Like I said, my car just with a full tank, I made it a little too safe, and it just kind of understeered. But when coming out with some shorter fuel, I was able to conserve tires a little better and just stay consistent and at least give myself a chance in the end to do something.
Yeah, you were saying you weren't too happy with it on a full tank and at the start of the race in the day. So did you find that handling got better at night? It looked like it was working better for you. I mean, the pace definitely did look better from my perspective on that.
Yeah, it was for sure. Like I said, I think early on I really burned up my front tires too, so it was just hard to drive, and it was much more balanced in the end. So it was good. Like I said, I felt like I gave myself a chance to at least be there. I think Travis might have been in a little bit of trouble on incidents, so I knew if I got up on him, he'd probably have to let me go, which he did, which put me in fourth, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like we said, it looked like a really good run for you, but effectively second in terms of the points guys. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, absolutely. First, Mike and the guys that organized the series. It's a ton of fun, and I appreciate what they do. And my teammates, Alliance. It's been a great week and a half, 2 weeks getting ready for this. Had a lot of team participation, and just want to say thanks to all of them. And thanks to you guys. I love watching the broadcast. Enjoy it. And
That was Trevor Clement, our fourth place finisher here today, and that's going to wrap up our interviews. Of course, we want to give a big thank you to the majors for coming back for another season of coverage here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We appreciate them so much, especially over the years and watching this thing grow. Also, a thank you to iRacing for putting us on IESN as well. If you haven't yet, go to their YouTube page and subscribe. There's a big red button that says so. Click it, and you'll get all of the majors races in your YouTube feed. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Amjad, Bill, Adam, and Christian, as well as Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. We have our Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. As we mentioned, next round, we are going to Eldora in the 410 winged sprint car. That is going to be quite a sight in the considering what we've seen in the past with the dirt races in this series. That'll be Sunday, August 4th at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.